Hello everyone and welcome to the championship finale of 2021 GPVWC Super League. And my goodness, do we have a show in store for you today. 3 different drivers come into this round with a theoretical chance of winning the championship, and that is more than we could have ever hoped for. Here you see the contenders leading up to this round in the championship, all of the different drivers who have won the various rounds, and here you see the contenders for today's championship finale. You can see that Yannick Buck, Stefan Rohr and Colin Spork are the top 3, and any of those could come away with... Oh, sorry, apparently we're not showing it yet. I can... Okay. Anyway, sorry. As you see, Yannick Buck, Stefan Rohr, and Colin Spork are all contending for this. Stefan Rohr there pretty much needs to win, because Yannick Buck is very likely to finish in the top 4. Almost definitely will finish in the top 7. The only thing that could probably keep him away from that is if something goes very, very wrong with strategy or an accident or anything like that. But I do not mean to tempt fate. Anyway, Stefan will pretty much need to win today. Colin Spork, of course, absolutely needs to win and get fastest lap, of course, the extra bonus point for the fastest lap, and of course have Yannick Buck fail to score in the meantime. So Colin, of course, just has to do everything that he can and then hope things happen to his championship rivals. But realistically, the ball is in Yannick Buck's court right now, and it is all down to him, because if he finishes in the top 3, he wins the championship. Let's take a look at something else here. This is the circuit that you see on the screen there, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, named of course after Jose Carlos Pace, a Formula 1 driver from the 1970s who won the 1975 installment of the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's 4.309 kilometers, and that leads us to 71 laps of racing. It's a great circuit for racing as well. I was saying this in the Super Cup commentary the other day, but I love how the circuit kind of folds back on itself in the first couple of sectors or first couple of corners of the track, because it means if you get side by side with someone going into turn 1, you can pretty much stay side by side with them all the way through to turn 4 and then up to Ferradura, and it is great stuff to watch and a perfect place for a championship decider. I'm being joined today by Ross McIntyre, who's standing in for Jake Sanson, who sadly could not make the championship finale today. But Ross, don't you think we have such a race in store today?
Oh, don't even get me started. As you said, we were here for the Super Cup races, and that was phenomenal. And now we're coming into a 3-way championship fight here at Interlagos. Bock versus Ra versus Spork. It is just... I'm struggling to, comprehend just what an opportunity we've got for a fantastic day's worth of racing here today at the Autodromo dos Carlos Pache. Of course, as I said, Yannick Bock versus Stefan Roll versus Colin Spork for the title. All three within of a shot. 71 laps around here tonight as well, and I'm sure it's going to go right down to the wire. And, well, if GPVWC is anything to go by, if Interlagos is anything to go by, it's going to be chaos, it's going to be entertainment, and it's going to be the perfect way to round out the 2021 GPVWC season.
Absolutely. Of course, also with me in the broadcast booth is Argo, who is our broadcast director, streamer, and cameraman, and he is the voice in my ear, as well as the reason you actually have images and audio beaming through your computer screen right now. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the other upgrades and points of interest coming into this round. Here is the car development. This is how the different championship runners line up against each other. You see there the Ghost Speed car has theoretically the most points put into the development there. So Ghost Speed is a team to look out for in today's running. The championship contenders, you've got to look out there for Evolution. Of course, Evolution has already won the team's championship, and they are fielding Yannick Bock and of course Leon Bock, but Yannick Bock in the championship fight. Edge there are fielding Colin Spork, and they are just a little bit weaker than Evolution theoretically. And then of course Holland Racing Team, or HRT, fielded. Oh, there they are. They are actually kind of in the midfield of the runners, if you look at that, the higher midfield, but still theoretically the weakest of the 3 front running teams. And they of course are fielding Stefan Rohr, the driver who needs a good car for today. So keep your eye on those drivers and those cars, and that is how their upgrades look. Okay, let's take a look at the engines. Of course, various different engines running out there today. You see the Valiant there with its engine mass upgrades. You see the Quasar with its even bigger engine mass upgrades. Very light engine in the Quasar, which should be helping Colin Spork here today. The Minotaur, the only engine that has not been spec'd into engine mass, and that's because they have gone full power. So look out for the Minotaur cars, especially when you get to the straight line sections. And of course, Reventon there with Adonis as their factory team. Theoretically, the best upgraded engine, and with fuel consumption being upgraded as well, they have an advantage that a lot of these other teams don't. So those are the engines. Right, what have we got? What have we got to show you now? We've got the calendar for the championship coming up. It's the standings. There we go. So we've got Yannick Bock there, 10 points ahead of Stefan Rohr. That's the important fight in this round. Colin Spork there in 3rd place. And those 3 are well clear of the rest of the field. There is no way that Leon Bock can catch the top 3 in this championship. So the nearest other fight is for 4th position between Leon Bock and Yoni Simoncic. And then we have all of those other drivers in the top 10, matching Winnick, Fabrizio Gobbi, Lauren Kiersmakers, David Feidock, and Riot Kilk, with their teams listed there on the right hand side of the screen. And here are the teams: Evolution, Edge Esports, Holland Racing Team first, GSR, Simracing Centre, etc, etc. And you see in the top 3 there, you have 2 different types of engine. You've got the Minotaur for the Evolution, the Quasar for Edge, and Holland. The top Valiant is GSR. And then the Reventon engine has been struggling a little this year. They are mainly the teams near the back of the grid, except of course Evolution, or Adonis, sorry, who have managed to get some performance out of the Reventon engine that a lot of the backmarking teams have not been able to. So those are your standings. And tonight they will be finalised. We will decide exactly what order they will go down in the record books, and who, of course, will be your drivers' champion. Well, Russ, qualifying has begun now. We've got 15 minutes ahead of us. Well, 14 minutes now. It would have been 15 at the start. And Colin Spork starts his lap. Why don't you talk us around this Interlagos circuit?
Well, just coming out onto the exit of the Senate S is now very tricky opening. Obviously, you're braking, turning, it's downhill off camber, so very easy to lose it through there. Now into the back straight. I'm going to brake as late as possible into here, but you want to not carry too much speed actually into this left-hander. It tightens on the exit, but you want to slingshot yourself out, run that inside curb, onto the middle of the road out here. Now, big right-hander. Gotta have a lot of guts, gotta have a lot of bravery and commitment through here. Now, again, braking, turning, downhill off camber corner. Very easy to lose the back end there. Also very easy to go for a lunge there. Now left again, and then back up and right again. This is a very nice little squiggly section in the middle of the circuit, very technical. Then again, this one does have camber, but it's into a dip and then a crest, then downhill off camber. Now, this is essentially the final corner of the circuit. It's penultimate, really. Turn in, use as much of the off-track on the entry as you possibly can. Turn in, just let the car drive itself round, and now it's all about the engine. How much drag do you not have? Put your foot to the floor, try and run as close to the white line as possible, keep as much speed up as you down the straight, and the first lap time is a 106.275 for Colin Spork to start off the timings. It's a very, very competitive lap time indeed. Matthias Moose is coming to the line now as well. Let's see what he sets. It's a 106.426, so a couple tenths off there. A little bit of work to do for Matthias. That was a very, very quick lap of Interlagos. That's about 4 seconds quicker than the actual lap record around this place. These guys are absolutely on it already this early on into qualifying. But it's
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's yeah, it's a very, very tricky circuit to get right. Obviously, you've got those big, long, fast first and final sectors. But then you've got that technical, tricky middle part, so it's hard to set the car up for, hard to get into the rhythm for, because you'll stop starting so much in the middle sector in comparison to the rest of the track. And again, every corner is unique. There's so much camber and inclines and declines through each and every corner, so it's very, very strange circuit. But that's what makes it so enjoyable to race on. That's what makes it so enjoyable to watch, because there is so much going on at every single corner, on every single lap, and it is a super, super technical circuit for these drivers. They'll be out there making changes to the car on before every single corner. Brake balance, differential, looking at how their engine power is being delivered. They will be tweaking this car around the lap. The guys at the front will be doing this before every single corner, because they want to make sure the car is absolutely perfect for the corner going into. If the car is slightly out, even if the brake bias is slightly too far rearwards, the diff is slightly too locked, you're going to cost yourself time. And in a three-way championship fight, that's not what you want to be doing, and especially at a circuit that is as technical as Sao Paulo.
Indeed, very short circuit as well. The lap you watched on board with Colin Spork was only a 106.275, which is about as quick as you get on any circuit on the calendar. And that, of course, just a 4-kilometer lap distance. And that is the shortest lap time on the calendar. Of course, the shortest circuit on the calendar would have been Monaco, although come to think of it, we didn't go to Monaco this year, did we? So actually this may end up being the shortest distance around a lap as well. Not sure how it compares to the Red Bull Ring. Whatever the case, it means you're going to get a lot of attempts in qualifying. And a lot of laps in the race as well, 71 laps in total. But yeah, plenty of chances for the drivers to improve on their lap times in this qualifying session. Because if you think about it, this lap is about 75% so 25% shorter than pretty much any other circuit, and that means, of course, that you spend 25% less time on your hot lap, and then 25% less time on your out lap and in lap as well, and that adds up, and you get 1 or 2 more flying laps than you would otherwise get if you or should you need them. Stefan Roll is now second, 106.297 set by Stefan, and that is only 23 hundredths of a second off Colin Spork up at the front. The top three separated by less than a tenth of a second right now. And it's great to see all three of our championship contenders in the front two rows of the grid. That is very much what we're expecting. Oh, look at the shiny livery there on the Epic Racing Team car. David Fido there sporting a one-off golden livery for this Interlagos race. And I'm not entirely sure if that's supposed to represent something or anything like that. If anyone from the Epic Racing Team would like to message me and let me know what's going on there, then you're welcome to do so. But whatever the case, the Epic Racing Team car does look, no pun intended, epic today. Mateus Moose, meanwhile, improving in the second sector, first of anyone. We're about to see Jeffrey Fournier complete a lap. He goes P3 very nicely indeed. And Moose came into the pits, actually, so he was pushing hard on the way back to the pit lane, went very, very quickly, but will not complete that lap for us.
No, indeed. But as you said, still plenty of time left in this session. Just over 8.5 minutes. Well, now just under 8.5 minutes left to go, actually. So still plenty of time to get back out there, head back on track. Again, as you said, it is one of the shortest, if not the shortest circuits on the calendar. So plenty of time to get yourself back in, get a fresh set of boots on, and head back out onto hopefully a more rubbered-in circuit as well that you've left behind. There's McGuire, getting very sideways on the way into the pits. And yeah, that's, well, of course, you will be seeing drivers once they get into the pit lane disappearing. You are allowed to escape back to the pits once you are in the pit lane. That is allowed. Of course, the regulations regarding escaping back to the pits, this being R-Factor 2, if you press the escape key on your keyboard, then you get teleported back to the pits. In qualifying, you are allowed to do that in the pit lane. In the race, you're not allowed to do it at all. That's considered as a retirement. So if you press escape back to the pits in the race, then that's your race over, done and dusted. Of course, only run waste tonight in the Super League as well. So that'll be your season over if you hit the escape key. In the warm-up, though, very sideways from Yannick Bock. He's pushing very, very hard. Yeah, if you are allowed to do it in the warm-up, so you will be seeing drivers pop out here and there in the warm-up. Wow, Yannick Bock, though, only down in P6. Not where he'd want to be starting. He'll want to be starting up the front, and as well, you can tell he's pushing very, very hard. Got very sideways coming through the first turn there.
Yep, and he won't be improving on this lap, I'm afraid to say, but of course, as I said before, plenty more opportunities to go, just so long as he doesn't do that too often. Did you notice, actually, who was in that Adonis car, sorry? Adam McGuire, the reigning champion, who, of course, claimed the championship here a year ago in controversial circumstances. Adam, of course, split with the Adonis team after just 4 races this season. 3 of those races he made after missing the first round. And I was told that he wouldn't be racing for Adonis anymore, but somehow he is back here for the final round of the 2021 championship. It's a shame he wasn't here for the whole thing, actually, because he would have been a real championship contender. And who knows, maybe we would have had 4 drivers coming into this round in contention. Probably not, because they would have been taking points off each other, and it would have been a whole different scenario. But great to see Adam McGuire back, and hopefully he does a full season in 2022. A few more updates in terms of the lineup for today. Cenobite has been a revolving door of drivers pretty much all the way through this season, and that's continued for today. They have Tom Oldenmenger and Scott Sovic. So Tom Oldenmenger, who I know from Formula Sim Racing a few years ago, and Scott Sovic, who is a very nice guy to speak to actually, and also a pretty rapid driver at times. Finished 7th in the second Super Cup race last week, and is now trying his hand at some Super League action. This is actually his debut in Super League, which I was surprised to hear, actually, since he's been around for a long time. Now, take a look at Colin Spork, rounding the final corner on what looks to be a very, very fast lap indeed. He's currently got a 10th of an advantage over the field, and now it's going to be, well, it's still a 10th, but it's slightly faster. Only a few thousandths faster, but that is all that you need to do sometimes around a track as short as this. Great lap from Colin Spork, 1:06.155, faster than anyone else in the first 2 sectors, and of course faster than anyone else overall. Sorry, and the best of the rest is currently Stefan Rohr, almost a 10th and a half behind. So great stuff there from Colin Spork. Just finished what I was saying about Cenobite just now. I was looking at their statistics earlier on. they've only kept the same driver lineup for 2 races in a row on one occasion this season, and they've pretty much never brought a driver back. So it's pretty much just been a different lineup every single time for the Cenobite team, and sometimes they haven't even made the race. So it's great to see that they have two cars here today, with 2 promising drivers, and hopefully they have a good day out there, Russ.
Yeah, indeed. Just going to bring it back to Colin Spork. He is absolutely flying out there at the moment, isn't he? Of course, he is currently the driver on form. Took the last 2 wins in a row in Japan, and you would say Japan was his first win this season as well, actually. And a second in Singapore, a second in Belgium. Didn't perform too well in Italy, and then was actually disqualified post-race, unfortunately. But he is absolutely on red hot form at the moment, and coming in, looking like he's going to be very, very fast. Currently, as you said, provisional pole by a 10th. That being said, Roll absolutely on it this lap as well. Let's see what he's got to do as he comes down the back stretch, brings it into the pits on a purple middle sector, which is actually dead on, so ever so slightly faster in the middle sector, but Spork is flying. However, we know that he's got the odds stacked against him tonight. The only way he can win this championship is if neither Rolt and Bock score, and he wins and takes the fastest lap. There you can see the graphic just up on screen. If they finish as they qualify, with Bock down in 7th and Rolt in 2nd, then Bock would be champion. So Bock, no, hang on. No, Rolt would be champion, apologies. So it's, so as it stands... Yeah, I'm getting confused with the... It's too many graphs, Caitlin, I'm telling you. But it's, yeah, if they finish as they qualify, which is Rolt currently in 2nd and Bock down in 7th, then Rolt would take the champion. Rolt would take the championship. There we go. Got it out of my mouth at the end. However, this is GPVWC. This is Super League. This is Interlagos. Let's be real here. Are they really going to stay in the same place as they qualified in? I'm going to go and say no.
Well, I can guarantee that they won't actually, because Jeffrey Fournier, who's currently in 3rd place, actually has a 5-place grid penalty, I'm being told, which means that even though currently Yannick Bock would be on the 4th row of the grid, he'll actually be starting on the 3rd row of the grid if indeed they finish where they qualify right now. Still, that's a pretty good performance from Jeffrey so far in that Scuderia Basilia car, P3, which will put him P8 on the grid, which is not a bad position at all, and he can definitely do some damage from there. So into the final 2 minutes of the qualifying session, Yannick heading out for his final flying run, and this needs to be a good one for him. And if you look at the other drivers who are currently in the pits preparing for their final run, Stefan Roll, Jeffrey Fournier, Adam Maguire, they've all got to get out of the pits as soon as they can. Maguire emerges, and I'm sure that the other 2 will do so very shortly as well. Matthias Moose is fastest of anyone in the 2nd sector once again, just as he was on his last in-lap. Let's see if he actually stays out on track this time around. He does, and this should put him into the top 5 maybe. Let's see as he crosses the line. Is 2nd. Wow, so his final sector was pretty good as well, and that is it's a 10th behind Sport, but it is ahead of Stefan Rohr, and crucially that would push him onto the 2nd row of the grid. So Moose in the red Archer car splitting some of the championship contenders, and look at Yannick Bock. This is a crucial lap, possibly the most important lap that you will see all day, apart from the first lap of the race itself. Yannick Bock into turn 1, gets it a lot better than he did the first time, although the car bouncing around a little. It's like he's got really, really stiff front suspension there. And now out onto the straight down towards the Descida do Lago. Descent to Lake, I believe that translates to, or roughly
down in sector 1.
Something like that. And then up to Ferradura, and you're right, he is down in sector 1. It's not been a great opening sector so far. Although actually it's only just down. Matthias Moose's lap that just put him 2nd was less than half a tenth of a second faster than what Yannick Bock has just done. So Bock's lap here, so long as he can keep the 2nd and 3rd sector lined up, could still be a real contender for pole here. Let's see as he completes the 2nd sector, breaks the timing beam, it's up. So he's improving on his personal best in the 2nd sector. Actually, according to my timing screen, he's not, although according to the in-game graphics, he is. Let's see what he does. He approaches the line. He's coming across it now, and he stays 8th. He stays 8th. So Yannick Buck will be on the 4th row of the grid at best, and I think he might be about to be beaten by Tomasz Vok goes 2nd. Tomasz Vok goes 2nd, just half a tenth of a second off Colin Spork. Now where's Roll? Where is Stefan Roll? Let's see where he is on the track if we can. He's now heading up. He's down on his times. He's down on both of his times. And he'll probably not improve on his lap. He comes into the pits. So it's Spork, Wach, Moose, and Rural in the order so far. Matteo Keersmakers is on a challenge right now. Keersmakers could be a danger here. He's currently in 10th place, but very, very quick. Who's this? This is Colin Spork. So Spork still improving. Fastest of anyone in the second sector. Beats Moose's time there. Matteo Keersmakers goes 5th. Ez just sets the fastest third sector time of anyone, but gets beaten to 11th by Laurent Keersmakers. And Spork doesn't need to complete that lap, but does anyway, goes faster, improves to pole position by a tenth of a second. Right.
Wow, what a lap from Colin Spork there. There's Ez, I think, without a rear wing, so he's lost it going through the first section. That big said, Thomas Vok, what a lap. Where did that one come from? Absolutely out of the top draw for the number 47 driver there, into second place on the grid. Awesome stuff from a driver who we're not really used to seeing that far up. That's awesome for him. Spork, though, as well, starting the final round exactly how he needs to start. And now he's just got to pray to the motorsport and sim racing gods that they're smiling on him now, because it all depends that he stays there and gets fastest lap, and that his two rivals do not finish. Spork takes the pole then with a 106.104 with Vok in P2, a 10th off. Great lap for him with Matthias Moose in P3 with Stefan Rolt in P4. Keersmakers will be P5. Fournier qualifies in P6, but does have a 5th-place grid drop. Adam Maguire will be P7, and Matthew Williams P8. Then it's Robin Pansar and Yannick Bock, your championship leader, with a pretty poor qualifying by his standards, rounding out the top 10. Then it's Laurent Keersmakers in P11, Michael Ayres in P12 with Florian Gare, Leon Bock and Daniel Stepkowski in P15. Luke Maguire is 16th, returning, of course, your reigning champion. That's not going to last, of course, after this one, with Ray Kilk, Jemana Zappella, David Fidok, and Yanis Fulburn in P20. And then in P21, it's Tom Oldenminger. P22 is Mirko Lucchini, then Federico Russo, Scott Sovic, and Moritz Kropp, rounding out the 25-car grid we've got here at Interlagos. And we are all set to go for 71 laps of racing around this Brazilian circuit. Of course, we've got the warm-up to go first. We've got 10 minutes, shall we say, to recover, catch our breath, just have a moment, reflect, and then also see what the race pace is like for these guys. Of course, they'll be heading out, doing last-minute setup checks, making sure all their hardware is working at home. You know, and especially those top three of Spork, and then Spork as well, looking down Roll and Yannick Bock. Those guys are going to need to have everything perfect tonight, Spork especially, and he's going to have a big deal, you know, big spoonful of luck to go with it. Yannick Bock, really not a great qualifying for him. Of course, I have no doubt he'll show his quality in the race. But yeah, really surprising to see him down at P10. I was expecting a lot better, but both of the Evolution guys, both the Bock boys, just not having a great time out there. Not being where you'd expect to be seeing up the front of the grid, but it is Spork on pole. And, well, now he just has to wait and see what Lady Luck does.
Indeed, and actually, Yannick Bock, although he was 10th in qualifying, will actually start P9 because Jeffrey Fournier will be demoted to P11, but that still means that he's going to be going off the 5th row of the grid, which is quite dramatic, especially since that is a pretty dangerous place to start the race, actually, heading into the first few corners. Now, Yannick, actually, it doesn't look like it, but it is still advantage Yannick Bock, because if they were to finish as they are now, he would still win the championship. So if I was him, I would be playing this really, really tactically, not going for crazy dives into the first few corners. At a previous run in the championship, he'd be feeling quite desperate right now, because he'd be losing all sorts of points to his rivals. But it doesn't matter, because it's the final round. So long as your rivals don't overtake you, it doesn't matter. You get the championship, you get the P1 trophy. So for Yannick, he just needs to finish where he starts, or a little bit better. He can even afford a little bit worse, in fact, although he won't be wanting that at all. He just needs to keep it clean. Stefan Roll, meanwhile, he's got everything to play for here from P4 on the grid. He pretty much needs a podium here, and if he gets up into the top three, then he can fight for the championship a lot more. especially if Yannick Buck is still stuck down in a lower position in the top 10. And Colin Spork, of course, just needs to do what he does and what he does best. And he's already done all that he can in this race meeting. From now on, he just needs to win the race and make sure he's the fastest driver as he does so. There are the drivers' standings once again. Also take a look at Leon Buck and Yoni Simoncic, 4th and 5th. They're two of the main competitors all the way through this season. And Leon Buck, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting his first race victory today, because he's the top driver in the championship without a race victory. And he's going to be pushing hard to end this season on a positive. I say I wouldn't be surprised if he did get a win. I mean that I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd got a win coming into this race meeting. Although qualifying didn't really go his way there. Because while his brother qualified in P10, Leon was actually down in 14th. As a result, he's going to have a hard time by himself in this race. Simoncic, if you're wondering where he qualified, he didn't. He's actually not here today. And that's a bit of a shame for Yoni Simoncic, especially since he hasn't made the last few runs in the championship either. He's been AWOL since Italy. So that's how the championship stands coming into this round, and once again you see the criteria for this race. I'd like to point out actually, I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to point out your arithmetic or whatever, but you have to keep in mind that the graphic says if Royal finishes, for example, 2nd, Buck must finish 7th, and if that was to be the case, Buck would win the championship, because that's where Buck must finish, if that makes sense. So if they were 2nd and 7th, for example, it would go the way of Yannick Buck and not Stefan Rohr. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, especially considering it's not as simple as that. There is also a bonus point for fastest lap, which could confuse things. So keep that in mind, Ross. It's going to be a difficult one.
Yeah, it's going to be one that tests your mind and your spirit, but it's also going to be one that is going to be absolutely amazing to watch, I'm absolutely sure. One thing that pops into my mind is how do teammates come into this? You're in a championship fight, you could see teams, if a teammate gets in the way of a championship rival, you could be seeing people trying to hold each other up. Strategy is going to come into play. Teammates are going to come into play. The weather, I believe it's due to stay sunny all race long. I will just double check that for you now. But there's so many different factors to take into account. Yeah, I can confirm that it is due to stay sunny all race long. But there is so much that could happen. There is so much going on. It's going to be a crazy race, I'm sure. And it's going to be changing lap after lap the situation. Again, Spork needs to have a whole load of luck if he wants to come away with this championship. Of course, he needs to put in the performance as well. But he needs to have someone smiling down on him from above, shall we say. Rolt as well needs a bit of luck. Bock just needs the performance. He's got the upper hand here. He's got the points lead. He just needs to put in a performance good enough to be in a good enough position come the end of the race to be champion. But then, there could be accidents, there could be disconnects, hardware failures. So much could happen in this race. It is simply anybody's game out there. Yeah, we can look at the points, go, oh yeah, this person's more likely to win the championship than this person. But when you consider what could go wrong, it's suddenly a very scary looking, graph of who's where and what could happen. Any one of these guys, any one of those three could walk away from this evening as GPVWC Super League champion. And it's, well, I'm very, very excited to watch. I'm not sure about you. I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. But it's going to be tense as anything. I just cannot even, begin to describe, what it must feel like for these drivers out there, how much pressure they must be feeling, especially for someone like Yannick Bock, who is, coming into race, hasn't put in a great qualifying performance, but is leading the championship. If he, quote unquote, throws this away, it might not be his fault, but I'm sure he'll feel like it's his fault if it goes wrong. Imagine the emotional toll it's going to have, the emotions, the pressure that are going through these drivers. This is going to be a tough 71 laps, and it's going to be the longest 71 laps of their sim racing career, I'm sure. And, well, we've got the pleasure of sitting here and watching all of it.
Indeed. So the top three, I'm so glad actually that they qualified in the opposite way round to their championship positions. With Spork, of course, third in the championship, first in qualifying, and then Raw, of course, in the middle of the two, and Yannick leading the championship and the third of the trio. That's great stuff. That sets us up for a brilliant championship finale here. Of course, we already knew that we were going to get one. These three have actually they've shared the podium plenty of times with one or the other of their rivals. They've shared the podium as a trio on two occasions. Actually, the first time was in Germany, where Stefan finished second, Bock won, and Spork was third. And then the second time, of course, was last time out at the USA. When Stefan was once again second. That's actually been his most common position of the season so far. But on that occasion, of course, it was Colin who won and Yannick third. In terms of teammates, I'm just looking at who could come into play. Matteo Kiersmakers in the Edge Esports car is starting directly behind Stefan Rowe in the HRT. And of course, Matteo is Colin's teammate. So that could get interesting, especially if Matteo gets a good start. Leon Bock, unfortunately, can't really help out Yannick here today, since he is starting well down the order, even compared to his teammate. So that's not where the Evolution guys would have wanted to start at all. In terms of Stefan's teammate, as we once again see the qualifying order, remember, of course, we still need to update that for Jeffrey Fournier's penalty. But in terms of actually, where is the other HRT car? The other HRT car that has made it to today's race is. I'll get that to you in a second. Actually, are there two Holland racing cars? Oh yeah, it's Lauren Keersmakers. Sorry, it is. It's Lauren Keersmakers, and he is starting 11th in this race. He'll actually be 10th. Sorry. He'll be 10th, and that's alongside Yannick. That'll be alongside Yannick. So actually, that does make things very interesting. Yeah, keep your eyes on that one.
Yeah, certainly. Again, as I said earlier, there is so much to consider coming into this. Yeah, I can confirm, we just had confirmation in the YouTube chat as well, that it is due to say dry all race. Thank you very much to Tom Parker for letting me know. And of course, hello to everyone watching along on YouTube. If you are here, welcome along. I'm sure you're just as excited as us for this championship finale. If you're new to GPVWC, hit subscribe, hit like, go on, why don't you? It really does help us out here. You know, a lot of effort goes into these championships and these broadcasts. And, you know, if you want to find out more as well, you can go to www.gpvwc-simracing.com to find out more on how to get involved, etc., etc. And, well, hope you enjoy what is sure to be an absolute display of beast. You know, the SL20 that these guys are driving, you know, anywhere between 880 and 930 horsepower, you know, V6 turbo engines, you know, anywhere between 720 to 750 kilos. These things are not slow. I'll say that much, that they are absolute beasts to drive. They require so much precision and skill, and these guys are the best of the best in GPVWC, and they are going to be, you know, hounding them around here. And when there's a championship battle to watch as well, my goodness me, there is going to be a lot going on. If you cast your mind back to last year, it was an interesting championship finale. I'll say that much. I won't delve any further into what happened there. Let's hope it's a little bit less interesting in the terms of everyone going, what was actually that? That was a load of rubbish. But interesting in terms of edge of your seat racing action non-stop for 71 laps. And again, I cannot begin to describe how excited I am for this. This is going to be absolutely phenomenal racing tonight.
HRT actually posting quite an interesting stat in the YouTube comments, which I appreciate. We have three different pairs of brothers on the grid today. Of course, Luke and Adam Maguire, both racing for Adonis today. Then we have Yannick and Leon Bock, both racing for Evolution. And then, of course, the two Keersmakers who are racing for different teams. We've got Matteo racing for Edge, and we've got Laurent racing for HRT. So, yeah, three different pairs of brothers here today, and that is that's fascinating, because we could end up with some quite interesting discussions over the dinner table tomorrow, especially since Laurent and Matteo are racing for different teams here, and both of those teams are embroiled in this championship fight as well. Both of those will be here to help out their teammates as much as they can. And actually, having raced against my brother plenty as well, I know how sibling rivalries don't even cool down when you're teammates together sometimes, and that should keep things
I
interesting.
mean, doesn't
as
sibling
always.
rivalry describe everyday life with a sibling, to be fair?
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, let's head to the grid. We've got 20 seconds until the start of the formation lap now, and then of course we will see these cars out for the final time before they go at the track in anger for 71 laps of racing. Colin Spog there putting his car on the pole position. It's on the outside, which you may think is a little counterintuitive, but that is the grippier side of the track. That's where all of the rubber is. But it does mean, of course, that if Tomasz Włoch gets a better start, then he has the inside line and he can really challenge into the first few corners. Let's have a look at the grid if we can, the order that they will be starting this race in. Here we go, Colin Spork on pole position alongside Tomasz Włoch, Mateusz Moos and Stefan Roll. Remember, Stefan needs to gain places in order to win this championship here today. Mateo Kiersmaker's P5 alongside Adam Maguire, reigning world champion, and then Matthew Williams and Robin Panzer. Then, of course, Yannick Bock, Lauren Kiersmakers, Jeffrey Fournier, and Michael Ayres. Look out for Yannick there. Look out for Yannick coming from P5 on the grid, having to fend off another of the Holland Racing team. Florian Geyer, P13, Leon Bock, P14, who I expect will be coming through the grid today. Daniel Stupkowski, and then Luke Maguire, the other Maguire brother. Riot Kilk, Germano Zapala, who won here a year ago, don't forget. David Fiduk, and then Yanis Wolburn, top 20. 5 more cars to go. Tom Oldenmenger, Mercury Lucchini, Federico Russo, and Scott Sovic. So 2 rows of Cenobites and Green Stripes in their own fight not to be last in this championship. And then Moritz Kropp will round out the grid in what I think is the sole NVR car here today, unfortunately. It is indeed. So that will be the last row of the grid. So, to the starting grid we go. Oh my goodness, Ross, 71 laps. I am so excited. I'm more excited for this than I may have been for my first ever broadcast. This is great stuff.
It certainly is. There you can see onboard championship leader Yannick Bock pulling into the P9 spot. Who gets away well from the lights? If Spork doesn't get a great start, you can hold it around the outside at turn 1, so he won't be out of the lead fight yet. And remember, he needs to win and have fast up and have his 2 rivals not finish the race in order to get this championship. Caitlin, this is going to be mega.
Yep, David Fiduk starting from the pits. Don't forget, the top driver on harder tyres, I believe, is Germano Zapala in P18. And here come the lights ahead of the race. I may have been wrong about the tyres, actually, it's just updating, but we will see. And go! For 71 laps of Super League action, Sport covers him off, and look, there's already slight contact with Moose.
Oh, no!
Moose coming back, and there's a little touch at the back, and I think it might just about be okay. Yannick Box got through okay, Colin Sporks got through okay, and a big twitch, and Moose now sends around Maguire, so Adam Maguire spins in front of the pack, and is facing backwards, and it's both Maguires are involved, so Luke Maguire off as well, without his rear wing. Various other cars are involved. Leon Bock losing places. Leon Bock doesn't have a rear wing either, Russ.
Oh, that was a messy start. Bock was very lucky not to get caught up in that second incident coming around turn 3. It is still Spork that leads this race from row in P2. There was a bit of an incident, I believe one of the cars on the front row, the second row, just didn't get away, and it just caused a chain reaction behind. We've already lost Zapala. Our first retirement from the night ended, his night ends very early on, but it is Sport from Williams, Kiersmakers, Bock in P5. As it stands, I believe that it would be world champion, but again, there is so much that could happen in this. No, actually, no, as it stands, it will be Bock as champion. I do apologise, but again, this is lap 1, so just ignore everything we're saying at the moment, but it is Spork that is going to lead the first lap. A second already is the gap behind to roll. From Williams, from Kiersmakers, from Bock, from Eyes, from Moose, who just did not get a great start. I think he got caught up with some of that as well. And as I said, Yannick Bock had 2 drivers spinning out on his inside round turn 3. Very lucky. There is Gaia coming into the pits. Oh, Thomas Vac was involved as well. Vac's got no rear wing, so someone's driven into the back of Thomas Vac. So I wonder if he just didn't get away at the start. Obviously, he started from P2. So I wonder if someone's just barreled into the back of him at the start, and if he's just had a poor getaway, or someone behind's or something's gone wrong clearly, and well, his race, well, it's turning into more of a test session now because he's dropped all the way to the back.
Pit lane's very busy right now. Adam Maguire, Leon Buck, Luke Maguire, Riot Kilk, Robin Panther, Thomas Schwag, and Shimano Tapala, with Tapala being out of the race. So that's all of the drivers in right now. Right, up front indeed, Stefan Roth has gone up to P2, Yannick Buck up to P5, another yellow flag briefly. And also I've noticed Yannis Volburn is the top driver on hard tyres. He's made his way up to 9th place from 20th on the grid in all of the carnage. Great start from Yannis, and well done to keep out of traffic. And look behind him, Moritz Kropp from P25 is P10. This is a very muddled up order, but of course only the top 18 stayed out of the pits at the end of that opening lap, which is part of the reason that we're so muddled up right now. Right, on with the race. Fastest lap last time around was Stefan Roth. It's very early to be thinking about that extra point for fastest lap. What that does indicate is that Roth gained on Spork and is not letting him get away yet. Let's take a look at the a replay of the start. Watch as Moose just won't get away here. He won't get away well, and through. Sorry, that was Moose coming through the inside. There was contact between him and is that Thomas Vlok? Yeah, so there was contact between Moose and Vlok, and then Vlok got caught up with that was Panzer, the Bursty sports car, going into the back of him, and that of course triggered a chain reaction which caught out all of those other drivers behind. So carnage all started by Moose getting a much better start than Vlok and just not having the space to go between him and Spork.
Yeah, Rolt was very, very lucky to avoid that one as well. Great avoiding action. And, well, that could have been a curtains for his championship hopes there and then. But he's managed to keep going. Currently in P2. Spork, another fastest lap of the race there. Well, we're currently watching Fournier and Moose up to back up to P7. So he's managed to keep it going. Obviously, not too much damage. DRS is now activated. You'll see Fournier potentially having a dive. And, no, he doesn't. Too far back at the moment. And as he continues to go around anyway, he's still in Moose's trail. And, well, not quite a DRS trend just yet. Still early on in this race. And as they head round, there's still plenty of time to go. So now the driver's going to be settling down. Now the driver's going to be thinking about, right, what do I do about tyres? Stepkowski comes back out on the soft tyres. I can see there. So he's trying to go long, clearly. Or not long, short even, the opposite of long. Yeah, it's now going to be starting to think about what am I going to do with these tyres? What's my fuel scenario like? You know, how am I going to cope with the pressure behind? Am I going to attack, defend? When do I attack and defend? How do I cope? Am I going to set up an overtake here, there? Now they're in full race mode. Now the brains are going to be switched on. Another fastest lap of the race for Spork. Spork, to be fair to him, has the easiest job out there of all of these guys because he knows that he's just got to win and then hope that luck's on his side. And when he's leading, all he's got to focus on is what's on the track ahead of him and what's behind. He doesn't have to focus on the cars around. I think that was Kropp and Walburn swapping places there. You know, you're looking at Rolt, you're looking at Bock in P5. They're thinking about long game here as Kropp to the outside. DRS open. Does he go for the dive? No, he doesn't. Wallbird hard on the brakes, but maybe overshoots the corner a little bit. He is on harder tyres, on the medium tyres, with Kropp on the softs. And Kropp now to the outside. He can sweep round this right-hander if he wants to, but no. Walburn holds on for the time being, runs a little bit wide, scrubs off a little bit of speed, but Kropp just cannot follow him for the time being. And, well, he holds position for now. But as I was saying, now it is all about who plays the game, who bites the bullet first when they come into the pits out of that championship trio. Spork still maintaining the gap of about a second to roll behind. Bock in P5. As they stand, if they finish as they do, Yannick Bock would be your champion. But again, it's lap 5 of 71. There's still pit stops to come. There's still drama to come. Anything could happen here tonight.
Yeah, I'm watching something quite interesting here, which is that for the last few laps, there's actually been well, because of the accident on the first lap, they're actually catching traffic already. The leaders are anyway, and the car that's coming up right now, who does not appear to be getting out the way very quickly, and is not quite getting blue flags just yet, is actually Leon Buck, and that's very interesting because the two cars behind him, as Jeffrey Fournier gets up to P6 ahead of Michael Ayres there, but the two cars just behind Leon Buck are the leaders, Colin Spork and Stefan Roth, who are fighting his brother Yannick for the championship. Now, Is he going to be a little bit naughty here, or is he going to get out of the way when the blue lights flash? Even when Spork and Royal get past him, there's actually another car coming up just down the road from Buck, and Buck can say, "Well, I'm fighting Panther here. I'm catching him. I didn't want to get out of the way and ruin my own race too quickly." So this could get pretty interesting here. Let's keep watching Spork as he comes up the hill. He is actually in DRS range of Leon ahead, which means that Leon should have got blue flags in that last sector. And this is, well, again, he's not really doing anything wrong yet, because I haven't seen any blue flags personally. And I don't think he's being told to get out of the way just yet.
I also
So
don't think
until he
Spork
absolutely
close
has
enough
to.
to go.
Yeah,
don't
until
think.
Leon absolutely has to, he's just going to stick there and be like, well, if you're getting turbulent air from the back of my car, so what? Not my problem. Sorry, guys. This is great stuff.
Indeed, well, I mean, personally, if I was the team boss over at Edge Esports, not Edge Esports, probably Evolution even, I'd be turning around and going to him, Leo, mate, you hold up those guys for as long as you physically can. I don't care if you get a penalty. This is on the team. This is on the Drivers' Championship now. And your job is to be a rear gunner to the other Bok, and you are going to sit there and you are going to waste as much time as you possibly can. You might be seeing there is a blue flag, so now he is going to have to get out of the way. You can see Spork is in the slipstream, and Bok is kind of... Okay, he does get out of the way there now, so he does let Spork through. What does he do to Rolt, though? Rolt is the real threat, lets him through as well. Okay, but they were behind a lap, so they will have lost time. I think that's fair enough. I think Spork would have gotten by turn 1 anyway, to be fair. I'm not sure about Rolt. But yeah, if I was team boss in that situation, I'd be telling my driver to hold up people for as long as you physically can, because you want to be causing as much havoc out on track as possible, because at the end of the day, you've got to be a bit rude to win a championship. You've got to play mind games. You've got to be a bit dirty. If you're fair and clean racing, well, unfortunately, it's not the 60s anymore. You are just going to get turned around and absolutely annihilated by your opponent. Oh, that's a big wobble for Moritz Kropp, just getting on the curb there. Well held. Following round. Oh, my goodness me. That was very close. Volburn still having a scrap, those two. Keersmakers is kind of closing in, but can't really do anything. But my, oh my, that was a big wobble for Moritz Kropp there. Well held for Kropp. As I was saying, though, it's all fair. It's all fair in love and war, but really, when you're out on the racetrack, you don't have friends. It's just all about the championship. And at the end of the day, you could have your best mate following you, but if it gives your teammate a chance to win the Drivers' Championship, you are going to hold them up, because you're contracted to the team, and what they say goes. You're just an employee as the driver, and frankly, the team wants to win the championship, so they're going to be telling you to play dirty games, because as I said, it's not the 60s anymore. You can't get away with being fair out on a racetrack.
Yeah, little incident further down in the positions. Federico Russo doesn't look like he's going to be scoring points at this rate. He's just lost his rear wing. He was running P15, and I think he lost it all by himself. He's now struggling to get it back to the pit. That puts Scott Sobek back into the top 15. Also, as you see, Yannis Forburn's still holding up this train of cars and doing a great job in the process. Remember, he's the top driver on hard tyres right now. Everyone behind him is losing so much strategic advantage here. Anyway, the thing I'm really interested in at this point in the race is Geoffrey Fournier, because he is so much faster than Yannick Bock, and Bock is going to be under pressure any second now. Geoffrey Fournier, currently the fastest driver on track, has the fastest lap of the race. And remember, he started a few places back from where he should have done, due to that 5-place grid penalty that he had. He's recently passed Moose. We saw that on camera. Then he passed Michael Ayres just off screen. Now he's on the back of Yannick Bock. Bock, of course, is being held up by Keersmakers. I think Yannick's a little bit of a sitting duck here. It's all about when Fournier is going to pounce, and if Yannick can fend him off. This is, again, very, very interesting. Is Keersmakers on the back of Kropp, desperately wants Kropp to make a move on Volburn any second now, so he can follow him through and then start to attack for position, but like I said before, Yannis doing a very good job in this race so far, especially considering he started P20. And Moritz Kropp, of course, yes, he started P25, but he does have the advantage of the soft tyres. So I think Yannis is putting himself in a very good position for this race here, right?
Yeah, certainly. As well, just back to Yannick Bock and Fournier, Yannick's going to be thinking about the championship. he's going to be thinking, you know, yeah, this guy behind might be faster, but what are the risks here? You know, do I finish P6? If he finishes in P6 as they stand, he will still be champion. However, you know, what happens if Rolt takes the lead? But then he's
And
also
look at
thinking,
that.
you know, oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
Leroy had a little look at Spork, and that just emphasizes your point. Because yes, Bot can finish P5 if Royal stays second, but I don't think Royal intends on staying second.
No, I highly doubt that. Roll wants to win this championship, arguably more than anyone, I'd say. You know, he is the hunter this evening, and well, he's currently hunting Colin Spork. And wow, look how close they are. Less than half a second now. He's really closed that gap over the last few laps, and now he is in attack mode. He can smell blood from the 21 in front. Colin Spork, who if he does win the championship tonight, would be the youngest Super League champion in history at the grand old age of 16, which makes me feel old, and I'm not even that much older than him. But he's, you know, got a big order, and now he's got Stefan Rolt behind, putting on the pressure, piling on the pressure. How does the young Spork cope with this out in the lead? We know that Spork, to win this championship, has to win this race, get fastest lap, and have Rolt and Bok not finish. Now, you know, could we be seeing him potentially in that regard then, playing a bit dirty with Rolt? You know, could we be seeing him, you know, defending very, very aggressively in the hopes that potentially Rolt makes a mistake, or potentially they even touch and, you know, he goes off and has to retire. There is Fournier on Bok to the inside into the center. Resses Bok, holds it to the outside. Bok will maintain the position for the time being. Fournier will have the DRS down this little back stretch, and he is all over the gearbox of your championship leader and pulls the inside. Bok defending aggressively. Fournier almost on the grass. He's forcing his way through on the inside. Almost contact between the pair of them. Fournier still with the inside line. Side by side, banging wheels through the left-hander. This is amazing between the pair of them. Tries to sweep around the outside. Bok holds the position. Fournier, though, not done yet. Does he have a dive at the inside? No, he has a look, but can't commit to it. Yannick Bok holds on by the skin of his teeth, but Jeffrey Fournier, well, that was a statement and a half if I've ever seen, when he's saying, I'm here, I don't care if you're fighting for a championship, I'm faster, and I'm going for that P5.
Actually, it helps him that Yannick's fighting for a championship, because he knows that Yannick has far more to lose. And Jeffrey's like, well, I might as well be aggressive here. You don't want to crash with me, I know that. So if he puts his car on the inside, he knows how that's likely to end. Stefan Roth gaining and gaining on Colin Spork once again, just about not having the room into turn 1. There is another DRS zone on the exit of turn 3. And actually with a back marker ahead of Spork, I don't think Spork's quite in DRS range just yet of that back marker. Stefan still, and now, yeah, and Kiersmakers, Matteo Kiersmakers has made a mistake. Kiersmakers makes a mistake and drops 2 places. Yannick's up to 4th, Jeffrey Fournier up to 5th, and that was all by his lonesome. Matteo got all sorts of out of shape over the curb at turn 2, and that is a much more comfortable position for Yannick to be in. And Jeffrey as well is like, thank you very much. Matteo has to settle for 6th.
Yeah, indeed. Rolt there, very smart that time round into turn 1. I'll touch on that in a moment, just getting a replay of what happens. There is Kiersmakers, comes into turn 1. Too much curb, I'd assume, maybe turn 2. Yeah, too much curb, rear steps out. Slams on the anchors and manages to keep it pointing in the same direction, but has lost all that momentum and drops down to P6. As I was saying, though, very, very smart by Rolt there. You know, he's not taking risks. He knows he's got the pace on Spork, and he was close enough once again to have a dive into turn 1 and chose not to. He's happy just following for the time being. If he wins this race, and they finish as they do now, then he is champion. Fournier very close to Bok this time. If he manages to follow him through these corners, we'll have DRS and a great whopping big launch out of turn 2, I'm sure. Round turn 3, yeah, he's got DRS. This is surely a move coming along. What does Yannick Bok do? Yannick Bok needs to hold on to the position. Fournier, actually, no, backs out of it. I was certain that was a surefire dive bomb. But, no, decides against it. Fair enough, I'm not the one driving, I suppose. He's the one who can know his own abilities. There is Krop and Kiersmakers behind. That is Laurent Kiersmakers, that is. Just continues to follow around Krop, who's doing a pretty decent job out there at the moment so far. Doing his own thing down in P10, rounding out the top 10 as it stands. Of course, those Spork still leading Rolt. Seems to be closing and closing and closing. Kiersmakers as well, having a look there. Now, there is your leading pair, Spork from Rolt. And, well, half a second this time, and but Rolt will have the DRS. Of course, he's got the toe down this main straight, which isn't really a straight, but we're calling it anyway. Now, onto the main straight again. He's not going to be close enough for a dive this time. He's just going to be more than happy following him through these first corners. Maybe put some pressure on Spork, hopes he makes a mistake. Just shove a nose up the inside, let him know you're there in his mirrors. Now, this is where the move will be. Oh, it's a great launch out of there. It's a great launch from Keersmakers as well. To the outside of Crop, who dives into the pits. That's a very easy overtake as Crop comes in. And, well, that was that. That was very, very easy, wasn't it? There is Fournier and Yannick Bock. Fournier, again, stays behind for the time being. So, Fournier, ooh, bit of a wobble on the exit of turn 4 there. As you can see, Fournier, maybe his pace that he had earlier just dropping away a little bit, maybe starting to run out of that soft tyre. Just starting to wonder that potentially this is now where you're going to be seeing some of the guys coming into the pits. As you saw with Crop there, you're going to be seeing those soft shed runners coming in. And what tyres they're going to, that's going to be crucial. I'd be surprised if this wasn't at least a 2-stopper, especially if you started on the softer compound. But it's, well, we just have to wait and see what all these guys are doing. And again, I would be very surprised if we saw, you know, all three of our championship leaders, you know, coming in on a similar strategy. And as I say that, that is Spork and Rolt both coming in from the lead of the race. This is your race leaders and 2 of your championship contenders both in.
There we go then, let's keep an eye on what tyres they go into. This gives us the best idea of strategy that we've seen all day. Jeffrey Fournier also in behind, and it's also worth noting that Matteo Keersmakers came in a lap ago, which is why Matthew Williams is now leading the race. Okay, so that's mediums for both of the top 2. Stefan may have actually had to lift off a little bit there to avoid Jeffrey Fournier, who was coming out of his box. Fournier is actually on the softer tyres here, and the reason for that is because he still thinks that he has positions to gain in his recovery drive from his penalty, and wants to gain them quickly, wants to get that track position. So he's gone onto the softer tyres here. He's come right just behind Matteo Keersmakers, and that means that Keersmakers has just about covered him off despite the mistake that was made a lap ago. And of course, Fournier just got past Keersmakers, hadn't he? So that's a little bit of a jump there for Matteo Keersmakers. Well done to him. He is on the softer tyre as well. And I think Fournier and Keersmakers are about to start lighting up the timesheets once again. Fournier currently has the fastest lap of the race. And yes, Sport needs that more than anyone today, but it's Fournier who has the tyres for it. Matthew Williams into the pits from the lead. That gives Yannick Bock the lead temporarily. And Colin Spork now passing Marco Lucchini. That's not Lucchini, sorry, that's someone else on track. That's one of the back markers involved in one of the earlier incidents. But he's got through anyway, and he's done it cleanly. So Spork there running P8, just a little bit behind Lucchini, who remember pitted a little while ago for... Sorry, I'm getting him confused with his teammate. Lucchini has not yet made a pit stop, and that's why he is up into P7. So Bock now leads, followed by Ayres and then Moose, and that of course is because none of them have pitted. Yannis Forburn is up to 4th, and of course he was running ahead of Keersmaker. Sorry, he was running ahead of Crop, even up to the point where Crop came into the pits, which shows you just how well Yannis did in defence in the first stint. This is a track where you can overtake, so it's just been fantastic driving so far from Yannis, and he is going to be right up the order when he pits for his softs eventually.
Yeah, indeed. Just saw one of the Keersmakers making a mistake there, and Fournier slid through. Rolt lost a lot of time in the pit lane, about 2 seconds. Not sure why. Luckily, those Sport came out into traffic, so he's managed to gain that back up. And Yannick Bock's in. So race leader comes into the pits. Where does he come out? So Spork and Rolt both go through. But where will he come out, you know, in regards to Williams and Fournier? Williams gets through, and he's leaving the pits now. Where's Fournier? I think he's going to get out in front of Fournier, which is exactly what he needs. And I know Fournier's going to get past him. Maybe this is going to be super tight at the exit. Fournier gets through.
Yeah.
So a modern disaster for Yannick Bock as Jeffrey Fournier slides through on the pit lane. I thought Bock was going to leave out as long as he possibly could. Hope that Spork and Rolt got stuck in traffic and try and get a jump on them that way. But instead, well, we're seeing there, Fournier getting the jump on Bock. An absolute disaster from there.
This is what I was saying just now. I was saying that Fournier still has some places to gain from that penalty. Of course, the first and foremost of those was Yannick Bock. And of course, the best way he could do that is by, and I think Scott Servick's had enough, he's disconnected. So Scott Servick has just become a retirement. He was running, I think, P15 in the net order after Russo's accident. And that means that Servick, I'm afraid, may have lost a point there in his first Super League outing. He's out of the race. Michael Ayres and Matthias Moos now into the pits. That puts Yannis Vorburn up to P1, although he's about to be passed by David Fidot potentially. And Fidot may end up being the top driver on hard tyres himself. Look at Ruhl and Williams fighting now on the exit of turn 3. Ruhl going to the outside line, and is he going to leave it later? That's a little bit dangerous, but he is going to make it, and that's a great move. Really, really well done. Finds the grip on the outside, and he'll be on the inside for Ferradura as we get a little lag spike, but Ruhl is unfazed and keeps that position.
Yeah, great move there from Ruhl. Great racing from Williams as well. He knew exactly where to put the car. Very big trust from both drivers there in each other. But up to P5 goes Ruhl. Awesome from them. And, well, now Spork in P3. So Spork, again, as it stands, won't win the championship, but Vorburn and Fidok need to pit. So he will be in the net lead of this race. So as it stands, it will be Colin Spork net leading this race from Williams in P3. Bock will be in P5. As it stands, I believe, once the pit cycle is finished, as Fidok comes into the pits, it will be, if they finish as they stand, once the pit cycles are done, then Bock will be champion again. I'm just going to keep updating you on this every couple of laps, just to try and keep track of it. Again, Bock does... Oh, that's Spork! Yes, Spork on Volburn!
Yeah. Spork retakes the lead of the race from Yannis Vorburn. Does it quickly, first attempt, nice and clean. That's exactly what he needed to do. So Colin Spork there not losing too much time. And Yannis Vorburn also not losing too much time, knew that he didn't need to fight him. And yeah, good driving from the both of them right then. Vorburn second, Oldenmenger third. That's all going to change, of course, when those two come into the pits. It's going to be Ruhl effectively second, followed by... I think Williams done his pit himself, doesn't he? So I think Jeffrey Fournier has managed to fight his way up into third position in this this race right now, through super. No, sorry, Matthew Williams did stop, didn't he? He stopped he stopped 3 laps ago. So Williams here is well and truly in this fight as well, especially since Ruhl now has to pass Oldenmenger on the track, which he's doing up the inside into turn 1. Makes it stick, nicely done. And Williams now has a car between them, so he's got to fight through Oldenmenger as quickly as he can. Around the outside of Curva du Sol, and I think he's going to get the advantage because he has the DRS. Now, what can Ruhl do about Vorburn? He's up the inside, and he gets through and makes the corner, similarly to how he managed it on Matthew Williams a couple of corners ago. So it's Spork, Ruhl, Vorburn, Williams. And Vorburn should make it relatively easy for Williams here since they're teammates. And Fournier does manage to get past Oldenmenger there. Wide goes Vorburn. And Fournier is going to get through on the outside. They slightly touch. They just about get away with it. And once again, great driving from all of these drivers involved. It looks as if they're going at it hard, but actually all of these drivers, they're not losing that much time at all because they're just being so respectful to each other and they're understanding that they're not on the same strategy. They're not really racing each other for position. And yeah, really, really good display of driving from these guys.
Yeah, awesome stuff that we're seeing. Lots of respect out on the racetrack. Lots of trust in each other as well. There we see one of the back markers, I believe, coming into the pit lane. Oh, no, it's Oldenmenger, apologies. So Bock up to P6. If they finish as they do now, yep, as I said, Bock will be champion. But still a long way left to go in this race. Only lap 22 of 71 here. For round 16 of the GPVWC Super League Championships, the finale here at Interlagos, the Autodromo dos Carlos Pache, as I absolutely butcher my Portuguese pronunciation. But it's well, it's all to play for in those top 3. Spork now has a 2.5 second lead, so Ruhl has lost a lot of time in the pit lane and in traffic as well. So that's not what he would have wanted. Again, he'll be wanting to win this race because that gives him the best chance to, you know, get going. But yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Indeed, so here is Williams versus Fournier for P3. Fournier has been scything through the field like a hot knife through butter, and he might be about to add Matthew Williams to his list of victims. Mateo Kiersmakers has just passed Yannis Volburn. I think Volburn might be about to pit, but keep your eye on Fournier, who's still not quite able to get past Williams there, but once again, an incredibly fast lap time from Fournier. They were both pretty quick that last time around. Fournier still has that fast lap of anyone. Volburn now does come into the pits, and I'm genuinely quite interested to see where he comes out here. I think it might be just outside of the top 10, although in the net order, I think he's definitely inside of the top 10. Moritz Kropp has jumped him, unsurprisingly, but that doesn't really matter at this point in the race. Yannis on another set of the mediums. I think he's going for a 2-stopper here, whereas a lot of the other drivers out there would be committed to a 3-stop strategy by now.
Yeah, strategy is definitely going to come into play, especially as the race gets into the latter phases. You know, you're going to be seeing those on the 3 stops. Obviously, they'll lose more time in the pit lane, but at the same time, they'll be on fresher rubber, so they'll have more pace. And they'll have, you know, as the track gets, you know, more rubbered in over the course of the race as well, gets faster and faster, it's going to be more beneficial to be on fresh rubber in that regards as well compared to old rubber. To be interesting to see what happens there. There is Thomas Vach, the man who went from 2nd place on the grid and then just got, well, I don't really need to say what happened on lap 1. I think we'll be wanting a bit of a discussion with Matthias Moos after this race, shall we say, because he's been robbed potentially of a very, very good finish here. He's currently down in P18 after those long repair times. Fournier unable to get past Williams for the time being, even on those soft compound tyres, just unable to make the gap appear. And, well, as Williams still leads him round in P3, Bock will be closing behind as they're battling. You know, all the time that they're fighting with each other out on the racetrack, they're losing time. They're not focusing all of their energy into going forward as quickly as possible. And, well, Bock will be. So Bock will be gaining while these guys are fighting and scrapping it out for P3. It's also going to allow Spork and Rolt to get away as well out the front. There is Bock currently in P5. Again, if he finishes in this position with Rolt in P2, he is your 2021 GPVWC Super League champion. And, well, interesting to see what he's going to do over the course of this race. Does he go for the positions? Does he play it safe and just bring it home where he needs to? Save the tyres, save the car, and not take any risks. You know, what would you do if you're Yannick Bock? You know, do you listen to the racer inside you, or do you go with your head and think, you know, I've got a championship on the line here? It's all very tense stuff for him out there. And there is Fournier having a look on Williams, and he's poking a nose on Williams, and there is a slight bit of contact between the pair of them, but Fournier making the gap finally appear. Got a bit of a slingshot at the corner, have the outside line. Unfortunately, going to drop behind by the looks of things. That outside line into that right-hander just isn't working, but he's going for a big lunge up the inside into the hairpin. Can he hold it around the outside? Squeezes Williams. Williams gets a bit of a wobble on, and Fournier up into P3 with a very brave, very harsh, but very fair move. Great stuff from Geoffrey Fournier. That was brilliant driving.
Fournier is being so aggressive today. You can tell that he likes to overtake, and obviously with those soft tyres as well, he needs to overtake, and he's done it well. So Geoffrey Fournier is up into the podium positions now, and now the question is, does he have the strategy for it? Also, can he gain on the top 2? Because look at the gaps. He's actually only 4 seconds behind them. And Rot and Spork separated by 1.5 seconds. That's not much. You know, Geoffrey could still win this race today at the rate that he's going. A long way to go, and it's still too early to say anything like that. But I'm going to say it anyway because speculating is my job. Matthias Moos also passed Moritz Kropp on that last lap. That's for P10. And I'm afraid Luke Maguire became a 2nd retirement after pulling off by the side of the road. And I say 2nd retirement and not 3rd because, believe it or not, Scott Sovic is back out on track after his disconnection. He's 6 laps down, although he actually said to me before this race, my goal today is just to finish. You know, it's my Super League debut, so I just want to finish this race. And well, clearly he's sticking to that motto because look at that, P23, 6 laps down, but he is still trucking on. Good for him, and also good for Adam Maguire, who, despite the accident on the opening lap, is now the fastest driver on track and in the 1:08 run.
Yeah, great pace being displayed there from Maguire, and obviously Spork's going to need to respond to that if he wants to stay in this championship fight. Again, Spork needs to win the race, get fastest lap, and have a roll and Bok not be in the points in order to be champion. So he'll want fastest lap just, to be absolutely certain. And yeah, but great pace there from Maguire after those earlier incidents. To be coming back out like that after, a big shunt early on, it's great to be seeing that pace, and it's great to be seeing, him out there doing what he's doing in P20. It's pretty decent, Obviously, the first lap drama caught out a fair few drivers, to say the least. Maguire, of course, being one of them. And, but he's currently doing a great job, out there. And again, great job for Scott Sovic as well, as you said. He's down the back in B23, apologies. But, he's just doing what he said he was going to be doing, running the race and finishing it. And, he's doing better than Maguire and Zapala are doing, because they're both out and he's still running. So he's achieving his goal at the moment. Aldermenger in P13, trying to chase down Mirko Lucchini. In the meanwhile, 3/10 is the gap at the moment. Very, very close. Aldermenger just needs to poke a nose, really. Try and force Lucchini offline, and he can go for the dive. Aldermenger is on the soft tyres. Lucchini, I believe he's on the mediums. Hopefully I can get a better view in the next shot. But it's, very, very tight. No, he's on the, he is on the mediums. Apologies. But yeah, Aldermenger now will have DRS, and he will have the toe down the main straight. Is he going to be able to pull out an audacious move into turn one? Let's find out. He pulls to the inside, he gets on the anchors, goes down the inside hard on the brakes, forces Lucchini out wide. That is a textbook Interlagos mover, and that was absolutely perfect by Aldermenger. Up to P12 he moves. Fantastic move.
Those two teams, of course, fighting not to be last in the championship. There's 5 points between them currently, and Aldermenger there, B12 would be a strong finish for the Cenobite team. Sadly, I'm not sure that they'll be particularly happy with this season of GPVWC. The main problem, in my opinion, wasn't really the car, although admittedly it wasn't particularly well upgraded throughout the year. But more to the point, it was actually their rotating cast of drivers. You need stability in a season like this to make sure that you're turning up to every race, and to make sure that you have drivers who are who know the car and are comfortable with it. And I'm not entirely sure why they've had such a revolving door cast. They've had something like 10 drivers, and that's not an exaggeration. But whatever the case, it's certainly hampered them. Green Stripes, on the other hand, have had consistent drivers. They've only had 3 over the course of the year, and their 2 drivers that they have here today have made most of the round between the 2 of them. They just haven't had the luck. They haven't had the performance. Really had the upgrades either. So for them, it's more of a kind of fundamental problem. Whatever the case, they're having their own little battle there over P12, and for both of those teams, it'll be just as important as higher positions would be for some of these other drivers. Matthew Williams, meanwhile, has not allowed Geoffrey Fournier to get away from him. Watch this, down towards turn 1, he's going to go back to the outside, leave the brake in later, and that is going to really throw a spanner in the works for Fournier's race, because Williams, on the harder tyres, who he would have felt should have been left in the dust, is now back into the podium places. Fournier now coming straight back to the outside again, and that's not the ideal line. So Fournier is still in 4th place. Meanwhile, Matteo Kiersmaker's pits again. But Russ, what do you make of that? Williams going down fighting here.
He is indeed. Fournier is not done yet, though, still pushing hard. You saw they're weaving this way and that way, trying to find the gap. Williams, of course, can go longer on those medium tyres. Fournier on the softer compound had more pace early on into the stint, but now will be drifting away. But yeah, he's not going to go down just like that. He's not going to go, well, we tried, and give the position up. I'm sure he's going to be pushing all the way to the end of his stint. There is Lucchini following it. Yannis Volburn just down the backstretch, 0.5 of a second separating the pair of them as they come into that big right-hander, which has seemingly not really been the most popular place tonight for overtakes. Usually in real life you can hang an overtake around the outside if your car's got enough downforce and grip. Seemingly not in R Factor 2 tonight, so it's only really been one line through that corner, which is interesting to see. But it's, well, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. David Fiddock will have the DRS on Laurent Keersmakers down the main straight, and he's going to be very, very close as well. Does he pull out to the inside? No, he doesn't. Stays behind for the time being, but he will have a big, big push. Fournier actually did come in on that lap, so Geoffrey Fournier actually decided enough was enough and has come in for a, I believe that's the hard compound tyres there, and he's going to hopefully come up ahead of those, that traffic there of Mus as well. And is he going to stay ahead of Matthias Mus? And yes, he is, so he manages to stay ahead of the traffic. But it's, well, interesting to see, and he's gone onto those tyres. Well, we'll just have to see how far he's able to make him go.
Well, actually, we've got a discrepancy between my screen. Oh, now it's updated. Okay, sometimes you do get magically color-changing tires in R32, but he has actually gone onto another set of mediums. It just looked like softs to me at first. That's a bit of a weird one. But anyway, so Fournier going onto the mediums. And I'm wondering, actually, it's probably a little too far to go to the end, although he's probably going to be quite a late stop for a stint on soft. I think this is clearly a 3-stop strategy from Fournier, but it's a little bit earlier than I would have expected for this stop. Anyway, whatever the case, he's out on track. He's in P8, and he's got a lot of clean air actually, because Fidok is running his own race a couple of seconds up the road. Meanwhile, Matteo Keersmakers just passed Moritz Kropp for P11 into turn 1. Those two aren't really fighting for position in terms of the strategy of this race. Keersmakers pitted a lap ago. Now, talking of pit stops, we've been seeing a few on this pit cycle. It's probably not going to be that long before Spork and Raw come in. There'll be a few more laps in this. They won't come in this time around because, of course, Fournier was on the soft tires. He did a stint which was maybe 4 or 5 laps shorter, probably longer, actually more like 7 or 8 laps shorter. The mediums can and will do, but keep your eyes peeled, because any one of these laps now, Spork and Raw are both going to peel into the pits, and considering the kind of strategic stalemate they've got each other in right now, it's going to take a bit of a brave call to get the upper hand over the other driver, Russ.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's all really about who bites the bullet now, who comes into the pits first. Out of this lead battle again, Spork, well, he was the biggest outsider in this championship fight. He again needs to win, get fastest lap, and have his 2 rivals not finish in the points in order to be champion. Still looking though to get a win and make it 3 wins in a row, wrap out his season on a high, and as the driver in the most form looking forward into 2022. Of course, he'll be wanting to put a lot of work in over the winter, and of course the young driver to end on such a high, even if you don't walk away champion, you know, it's you know, gonna be some good motivation, some good kudos for the next season. Rolt, meanwhile, will be wanting to win this race in order to shore up his championship hopes. Again, he can finish as low as 6th and still win this title. As it stands, if they finish as they do with Rolt in 2nd and Bock in P5, he won't be champion. But if he overtakes Spork and Bock remains in P4, apologies, then he is champion. So Spork, it's interesting what he can do. There is Fidok on Keersmakers to the outside. Keersmakers, apologies, to the outside. Keersmakers holds the inside line for the time being. Runs a little bit wide out of turn 1 though. Fidok has got a lot of pace on board that ERT wagon and is really, really pushing. Now look at that. Look at the slingshot he's got. He's got the DRS as well, as does Keersmakers. But Fidok with the momentum to the outside. Who gets later on the brakes? Keersmakers, he might slightly overshoot the corner though. No, manages to hold it on. Holds up David Fidok behind. But again, look how close they are. Weaving this way and that way is the number 10 in P7, but cannot get through for the time being. And Keersmakers will just hold on to that position. And actually behind them, Fournier might try and get involved in this scrap as well. As I was saying though, Rolt probably has bigger motivation to win this race at the moment. But actually no, he's just come into the pits. So yeah, Rolt in, as does Williams in P3. So this is one of your championship contenders. Stefan Rolt takes the first stop out of himself and Spork. So he's trying to go for the undercut, I'd assume. You can see on board with him in the top right of your screen. Oh, it goes onto the softs. So this is going to be a fair few stops. We're looking at a 3-stop race here, I think, Caitlin. This is super exciting.
Yeah, well, it was already rather clear it was going to be a 3-stop. But look ahead there. That was Fidok trying to take a look up the inside of Laurent Keersmakers. Geoffrey Fournier
going to fit the traffic as well, which is good.
Yeah, struggling to find position. Stefan not coming out of the pits too far ahead of it. Whoa, look at that! Khan coming out of the pits right alongside this
That was
bunch.
Williams.
That was Williams, and they both got past him. But that was so close. Williams would have been like, "Whoa, what are you doing over this side of the road?" Now
That's
look
allowed Fournier
again.
to jump Williams in the pits as well.
Yeah, Idoc's almost been run off the road there by Gears Makers. But yeah, you see that. Oh my goodness, and out of touch, and Fournier going sideways. And now Williams all over the back of him, around the outside, heading up to Bico de Pato, and settles for it. But my goodness, that was a really tense one. Spork's probably now going to cover off Stefan Roth. Well, he's actually stayed out for another lap. And that's interesting, because with Roth on soft tyres as well, and with clean air, is the lead going to change here? Well, surely Sport's got to cover him off this lap, unless he's trying to run it longer to ensure that he doesn't waste his tyres later on. But track positioning is far more important than that at this point in the race. Down into turn one again, Fournier taking a little look. I'm sorry to report as well that Scott Sovic has crashed out of his first Super League race. He did a good job to continue up until this point, but now he is out of the race. Fournier to the inside once again of David Fiduk. Fiduk not fighting him, and wisely so, because that would have just costed them both time. Fournier up the inside into P6, and now sets after Gears Makers, right?
Yep, indeed. Maybe Spork knows something we don't. Maybe he's just happy on those tyres. We'll have to see what he does in regards to roll. Oh, that was really wide from Gears Makers there. Super wide. Fiduk now. So Fournier squeezes through. I'm not sure if there was maybe a touch between the pair of them. But Gears Makers was well off the track there, coming out of the hairpin. Now Fiduk can put the pressure on the Holland Racing Team driver, and Williams behind as well. And there is Matthias Muss looking to get involved as well in this battle for the latter phase of the top 10. And my goodness me, look how close Williams is to Fiduk there behind. He's got a big run out of the final corner, right with the fastest lap. And oh my goodness me,
because Royal's coming out the pits. Well, Sport's coming out the pits alongside Royal. They're going to be neck and neck down the straight. Royal will have the DRS heading towards turn 4. Watch this. Does he go for it? He can't. He can't. So the lead does not change, despite Royal setting the fastest lap of the race that last time around. He's in the low 108.3s, and that was so close to changing. If Sport had stayed out for one more lap, it would definitely have changed. Sorry for the interruption, but that was a crucial point in the race.
Yep, definitely. So Spork holds on to the net lead. Bock does lead this race, but still needs to pit. Well, there is Gears Makers and Fiduk coming out of the pits, so they both came in as well during all of that scuffling behind, and lead is in the pits and whatnot. And there is Fournier and Michael Ayers ahead of him. So Fournier suddenly finding a lot of pace on board that Scuderia Basilica car. Suddenly he's just flying along, isn't he? Williams trying to follow him behind, but yeah, Jeffrey Fournier really getting a move on. Yannick Bock now in, so Bock comes in as well. Spork and Roe will definitely go past him, and yep, there they go, they're already through. So Bock comes in, gets into the pits. What tyres does he go onto the softs as well? Let's find. No, back onto a set of mediums for Yannick Bock. Okay, so Bock on an alternate strategy here, shaking it up from Spork and Rue, his two championship rivals again. Bock is in the most comfortable position. He just needs to really be with, get a certain amount of points and he is champion. As it stands, he needs to finish 6th or above, and he does come out the pits in P6, so he will be champion from Rue. But yeah, onto the medium tyres. Interesting. So Yannick Bock trying to shake it up here, go the alternate path. Will that pay dividends, or will that be a disaster late in the race? We're only going to have to wait and see. We really don't know what the best strategy is.
I still think he's going to have to pit for softs, because I mean the softs are only doing 14 or 15 laps at the start of the race, and yes, the tires are better towards the end with the lower fuel loads and everything. But even so, 33 laps is a bit further than that, and I don't think that even the medium tires can do that. But anyway, watch Williams now up the inside of Ayers, and he'll get past him relatively quickly. Now, Williams, of course, got jumped by Fournier in that crazy pit cycle, and he'll be a little disappointed by that. So will he be able to round up Jeffrey Fournier once again, reel him in for this victory? Right, Stefan Roll, meanwhile, is still on the back of Colin Spork this next lap, although was not able to keep Well, he has kept within DRS range, but he wasn't able to keep right under the gearbox of Spork. Wasn't able to have an attack down to turn 1 this time. Now, the crucial thing is that Raw, not only is he second, but he also has the bonus point for fastest lap, which of course confuses things in the calculations for the championship. Yannick Buck now gets back past Michael Ayres for P5. And I believe that he is still in championship winning position, as we've just passed the halfway mark in the race. But at this point, it's not really what we should be talking about. There are far more pressing matters, such as that Colin Spork has now taken the fastest lap of the race, and that he might be about to once again break out of DRS zone of Stefan Rohr, as Mateusz Muster gets up the inside of Ayres for 6th, and Matteo Kiesmakers is held back for the time being. But with Spork now fastest of anyone on the track, Rohr has to act fast to stop him from getting away.
Yeah, indeed. I've just been thinking about some strategy in the back of my mind. That's Matteo Kiesmakers going up the inside of Michael Ayres there for P7. What I assume Yannick Bock is doing is the opposite of Spork and Roll. So as he's gone on to the medium tyres, and there you can see there is the just again that title graphic just explaining where Rolt needs to finish and where Bock finishes in order for Rolt to win the title. So if Rolt finishes first, Bock needs to finish on the podium or Rolt is champion. As it stands, Rolt is in second, Bock is in 6th. So Bock will be champion, but if they both crash out or something and Spork wins the race and maintains his fastest lap, he'll be champion. But what I assume, though, as I was saying, is that Yannick Bock is doing the opposite to the two leaders. So these guys have gone softs, presumably going on medium at the end. What I am assuming is that Yannick Bock is on the mediums now, goes on the softs at the end. Whether that's quicker, I'm not sure. Whether it'll come into him as we see that McGuire gets a penalty. Not sure what that's for. So we'll just have to wait and see where it comes out. But that's what I assume he's done. So it's not too much of a different strategy, but it's just shaking up. He's sacrificing pace at this phase of the race in order to go long and then stick on a set of softs right at the end and really hound in those last few laps. But, will he be in the position to gain places? What does Rolt do as well? Rolt, I'm confident, is not attacking at the moment because he knows he can just sit there and bide his time. He doesn't need to push for the lead at the moment. Bock's currently in P5. He needs to win this race, Rolt, if Bock finishes below P3 in order to win this championship. If he finishes in second, currently Bock will be champion again. So, I assume that Rolt is just sitting there biding his time, has no problem.
Whoa, sorry, Kiesmakers and Stepkovsky have just come together fighting for P9. So Kiesmakers and Stepkovsky there were side by side up towards Ferradura, and they've been for a big spin because they locked wheels, and that's a bad thing to do at that point on the circuit. Reminds me of the first lap accident from 2009. The Formula 1 Grand Prix. Luckily, neither of them hit the barrier, and they haven't lost any wings or anything like that, but their tyres will be toasted, and that's going to cost them a few places in the overall race order, I think. So not a good time there for Daniel Stepkovsky or Lauren Kiesmakers. Here's a replay. What you're going to see is one of the biggest and longest spins that you've ever seen, or synchronized spins from two cars. They're going to lock wheels on the X of the corner. They're going to find the grass. There we go. And skatey. My goodness, that lasted a long time. Kiesmakers gathered it up a lot quicker than Stepkovsky did because of the way the cars went. Stepkovsky's now 14th. Kiesmakers is now 10th. That puts Fido back into to P9. Not good stuff. Meanwhile, the leaders all extremely quick at this point. All of the top 5 within the 108s pretty much every lap here. Spork's still the fastest of anyone, but they're all setting personal bests. Rohr is about to set fastest lap, I think. Let's see as he crosses the line. Oh, it was close. It was just a couple of tenths off. And once again, in the mid 108s, just showing you how fast these cars are on those soft tyres. And of course, this is the least fuel that they've had up to this point in the race as well, logically. And Rohr there with that last lap has saved himself from dropping out of the DRS range of Colin Spork, which could be absolutely crucial later on. This is great stuff. By the way, I'm actually not sure that the graphic that we keep seeing in terms of the championship is quite worded correctly, because there shouldn't be a difference between between if Rohr Okay, it's hard for me to explain, but it's not quite worded quite correctly. So I'm gonna be keeping my own tally on the side, just to make absolutely sure that we do have the right winner when they cross the line. But again, it's still a long time until we get to that stage, Russ.
Yeah, indeed. Just a sign, I've just been informed by. Oh, there is a big kerfuffle going on here. That's Lucchini versus Gaia versus is that Stokowski in the background as well? Yes, it is. So all very, very close between these three. And well, that was almost a bit of an accident coming out of the left-hander down the bottom of the hill and the bottom of the circuit, but they're still going around at the moment. And oh, that's Keersmakers and Moose as well. And Keersmakers, oh wow, very nice move from Mateo Keersmakers. Around the outside he goes. And well, that was very enjoyable to watch. How can he defend from the DRS though? All the way to the inside on the run down to turn 4. Hits on the anchors. Oh, Moose trying to hold it around the outside. Oh, they both get a wobble on. But Keersmakers will come out on top. Lovely stuff from the number 96 Edge driver. And yeah, coming around that right hander, that just confirms that he has the position. Oh, there is Lucchini and Gear. All very tight through turn 1 and into the center S's. My goodness me, Lucchini. Wow, that was very tight racing, but very, very well driven through there. He judged the positioning of the car perfectly. Gear isn't done though. Trying to dive back down the inside into turn 4 and he gets the move. And no, Lucchini's not done. Lucchini poking a nose. Gear cuts it off. And Lucchini's still there trying to get the run. Nope, Gear cuts it off. He takes the position. P14 for Florian Gear. Ooh, lots of racing going on in the middle stages of this race here in Interlagos. As I was saying though, I just had a bit of information from Adam Maguire's team boss. He's racing with a problem with his downshifts. So it's just a little bit off the pace, just a problem, obviously getting the car slowed. If you've got a problem with downshift, you can't get down the gears, you can't get the engine braking, so you're losing out in the braking zones because you're losing the engine braking. You're essentially losing part of your stopping power. On board though, with Stefan Roll. If they finish as they do, he is second place in the championship. But all that is separating him and a championship win is the man in front, Colin Spork, and the race lead. However, Roll, I'm sure, is just perfectly happy sitting behind. Doesn't he? As I say that, Maguire sits the fastest lap of the race. Okay, there you go. That's a reverse commentator's curse there, I think. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that Rolt is just perfectly happy sitting behind Colin Spork, letting Colin Spork do his own thing. He doesn't need to push it. He doesn't need to risk the car. It's when he gets into the last 5 laps of the race, that's when it's crunch time. That's when he needs to make a move. The way I like to compare situations like this is imagine the Indy 500, right? Just picture the Indy 500 in your mind. So you got that race in your mind. Nothing really happens for the first 170 laps out of 200 in that race. Everyone just kind of pootles around and does their own thing. It's when you get to the last 30 laps of the race, that's when it gets serious. That's when you start seeing the moves being made, because up to that point, it's just about getting your car through, making sure, you know, you're running near the front, the car has no damage, you're running the fuel load fine, you're running the tyres fine. It's when you get into the last 30 laps, that's when the race really begins, moves coming into the pits there. That is when you start to see the moves being made. That is when it gets serious. It's going to be a similar thing here for Roll. He's perfectly happy running in P2 for the time being, just making sure the car is getting around, not damaging the tyres, the engine. Moves very close to the wall there on the way out of the pit lane. But I'm sure that when it comes to those last 5 laps, that's when it's the switch is going to flick in his head. That's when it's going to get serious. That's when it's going to push, and that is when we're going to see the moves being attempted on Colin Spork.
That's a good analogy, actually. The only difference, of course, or the main difference, is that there are no cautions in this, so it means you do have to stick with your opponent.
And it's not a circle either.
And it's not a circle, indeed. So it means you can play the long game a lot more in this, and you don't have your advantage suddenly slashed by a sudden yellow or whatever. But whatever the case, Colin Spork still leading ahead of Stefan Rott. As you say, the only thing that separates Stefan Rott from National Championship lead is 1 second and a big chunk of virtual carbon fibre. So Colin Spork leads, Stefan Rott second, and Jeffrey Fournier, Matthew Williams, and Yannick Bock. And that is pretty much... Whoa, it's a big slide for Stefan Rott. He saves it, but I think that's going to put him out of DRS range. So Stefan making a mistake, and it's things like that that could be the difference between first and second in this World Championship. Stefan, it wasn't lurid. It didn't look as if he was going to lose control, but it did look as if it was going to cost him a lot of time. And that time is now the reason he can't open the DRS flap, and that means Colin Sport now it's all in his court. Can he extend the lead to such an extent that Ruhr won't be able to attack in the final pit window? This is an important stage of the race, and that is an important mistake there. Into the pits once again comes Matteo Keersmakers, and all through the race he's been the first driver to make his stop in the pit window. So when you see him coming in, it's a good sign that things are about to kick off and that the pit lane is about to get very busy. He goes on to mediums. He will go to the end of the race on those, should everything go okay. And he's actually going to exit the pits in 9th place, which isn't bad, actually. I think he might drop to 10th before the time he gets back onto the track, but that does, of course, mean that he is relatively safely inside the top 10. And actually does keep 9th place because Mateus Moose is a little way down the track. So Keersmaker's strategy appears to be working out quite well, especially considering that now he is on the set of tyres that's less likely to wear down and expose him to danger at the end of the race. Matteo continuing on. But up the front, we've got to keep an eye on all of those fighting drivers because any second now, we're going to see strategy coming back into play again for the final time in this race.
Indeed, about to hit lap 50 of 71 here in round 16, the final round of the GPVWC Super League Championship in 2021, and the final round of GPVWC as a whole in 2021. Of course, this is the last race of the season for everyone, not just the Super League. So a bit, it's been a long old year, hasn't it? A bit crazy to think it's coming down to round 16 already, and of course this three-way championship fight that we're viewing as well. And as you said, Caitlin, all about to come down to these last few laps and the last pit stops. All depends on what happens between Spork and Roll and what Bock does as well on his alternate strategy. We just have to wait and see. And of course, if you are watching along at home, cheering along your drivers, your friends, or your family, of course, hello and welcome, and we hope that you've enjoyed a fantastic day's racing so far. And boy, oh boy, we're also hoping that the last 21 laps are just as exciting as the first 50. And of course, if you are watching, do not be afraid to hit subscribe and like on the video. It really does help out all of us here at GPVWC. A lot of effort goes into organising these championships, doing these broadcasts. There we see that was a crop and gear swapping places, I believe Florian Gear made a mistake. And all your support is very much appreciated. And if you're new to GPVWC, you've got no idea what's going on, or you fancy getting involved, you can head to www.gpvwc-simracing.net to find out a lot more about GPVWC and how to get involved. And there's actually quite a good website, to be fair. It's one of the better sim racing league websites I've seen, and this could be one of the better sim racing moves I've potentially seen. Gear getting very close, doesn't go for the dive this time though, but again, he will have the DRS down that back straight. Out of turn 3, was a bit wide from Crop, out of the second part of the center S's as well, onto the back stretch. Now Crop saved by the back marker, maybe no, so Crop then going for trying to get around the back marker. Crop maintains that P13, so Crop very much helps out by lapping that traffic there. Who we got a replay of something, and this is firing again. Oh, and that was a slide there. Oh no, so it was a slide from Crop, and then contact with Gear. So I thought that we cut to just after that contact, so I thought the Gear was going slowly and Crop had got through. Actually, Crop just gave a bit too much speed through the corner, lost the rear end, potentially over the curb as well. A bit too much speed plus curb usually doesn't equal a good time as Fournier exits the pits on the mediums. Presumably that is his last stop. So there we see it instead. It's actually Crop just carrying too much speed into the left-hander and making contact. Now Fournier should be able to go to the end on those medium tyres. He's currently P5, Bock moves up to P4. The question is, where do those other guys come in then? So Spork and Roe, they're in a race of their own. They're doing their own thing. Bock, though, Bock's fighting with Fournier and Williams now, actually. Does he stay out? Does he come in to cover them off? Because he is not far off those two at all. And what does he do? As I say that, Stefan Roe from P2 into the pits for his last pit stop.
Here we go, he had to do it before Spork, he had to do it. Right, what tyres does he go on to? We've still got a little way, 19 or so laps, which should, it might just about be doable on softs, but it's difficult. He's going to try it, he pretty much has to try it here. He's got to jump Colin Spork. It's his last chance of winning this race and potentially this championship, depending on how Yannick Buck does and where he finishes. Out of the pits he goes. He's going to be behind Yannick Buck for the time being, although enough behind that he doesn't have to worry about him just yet. A few seconds between him and Yannick. Those seconds are vital clean air. Lauren Keersmaker's also into the pits. Jeffrey Fournier, incidentally, stayed P5. He came in P4. He's come out in P5, so he is pretty much guaranteed a top 5 finish, but we knew that already. There's Keersmaker's making his last stop. Still very much in contention for a top 10 finish today. So, Yannick Buck, meanwhile, is now within a second of Matthew Williams. He's in DRS range of Williams' car. And this is exactly what he needs, because right now he's right on the buffer between the position where he would be comfortable if Stefan was to win the race, and where he wouldn't be comfortable and where he'd lose the championship. If he was to get past Matthew here, it would pretty much be all over for Stefan Roll. He would end up in a situation where he'd need something to happen to Yannick Buck in order to win the championship. There's Gaia versus Krop once again, but I think the most important battle right now out on track, apart from Rob versus Spork, which is mainly a battle through strategy right now, it's definitely Williams versus Buck. Either of those battles could decide the championship here.
Indeed. Interesting to note that Ruel's gone onto the softs again. So he's boxed from the softs onto the softs for the last few laps here. Gear trying to get a move on Krop done. Krop forces him to the outside. He can hang around there though. And he tries to hang around there. He does hang around there. Great move from Florian Gear through turn 1. And that will be a very satisfying P12, I'm sure, finally getting past Moritz Krop. That being said though, yeah, Rue onto the softs again, which is interesting. So Yannick Bock, potentially his alternate strategy, didn't have to go on it if he could go onto the softs again.
Look at Spork. Spork is in the pits right now. He's going to go on soft as well. He has to. Through go Williams and Buck as they had to. And where does Spork come out in relation to Stefan Rowe? Rowe has got to absolutely fly. What's the lap time? It's in the low 108s.
Yeah,
Once
Spork's
again,
going to be ahead.
as it was last time. It's just about going to be Spork, but what is the gap? There, you see the car. It's going to be about maybe 0.8 of a second. Maybe up to a second. This is going to be close, actually. Does Rural have DRS? He'll have the advantage of the warmer tyres, the tyres that have been rubbered in already. Matthias Moose, meanwhile, around the outside of Matteo Kismakes into turn 1. It makes that stick for P8. And I think the gap between the leaders is going to be just over the DRS range, maybe. Which is Matteo Keersmakers might be about to come back at Matthias Moose. He's not done with this fight just yet. Round the outside and gets run out over the curb. So that's going to stay the same. Also into the pits. That last time around was Moritz Krop. Now here are the leaders, Williams and Buck. I say the leaders. They're the leaders on the road. And now it's just Buck. So Buck is on his own as Williams dives into the pits himself in another very, very crucial fight in this race. Roll does not have DRS as they head up through Subido de Boxes and into turn 1. Spork is a lot more comfortable than he might have been in this race had things gone ever so slightly different. Williams puts on the soft tyres, heads out onto the track once again, and I think he might just be about to fend off Yannick Buck as well, depending on if he gets clean air, which I think he will.
Bock might have played this really well. I'm just trying to, think strategy-wise. Put my strategist cap on. Bock actually could be just conserving his tyres, trying to make it to the end here. We know he's on the mediums, and he did pit a fair few laps later than Spork and Rue for those mediums. So he could be trying to make it to the end here. Again, if Rue finishes in P2, if, Bock, gets overtaken or does box, all he has to do is finish in P6 and he's fine. If he's trying to take those mediums to the end, yes, the softs these guys are on will be faster. They might catch and pass him. But even then, Fournier's, 20-odd seconds back off of Bock. So Bock could be, trying to long game his way into a podium here, which would be awesome stuff. As it stands, though, he is leading this race. I'm not sure what his strategy is. But as, the time is ticking down, I'm wondering, is he going to come in? Or is he just going to stay out? If the tyres are fine... does he need to come in? I'm not sure. We'll just have
Yeah,
to wait
you
and see,
see,
but there is Yannick Bock leading. He's got 6 seconds currently to Spork behind. Spork is, of course, gaining on those fresh softs, but, you know, Bock's, he's doing a fine job out there at the moment.
I was wondering about that as Fido now comes in from P6. I was wondering about that when he came in. Let's do some quick arithmetic. So Colin Spork and Stefan Rock came in with about 18 to 19 laps to go to the end for the soft tires. The hard tires tend to last, from my experience, they tend to last about 25% longer than the softs, which would indicate that he'd be coming in with maybe 24 or 25 laps to go. He actually came in with 30 laps to go, meaning that is going to be a real push to the end, especially and he comes. Never mind. Let's stop doing the arithmetic. Let's stop using our brains for the time being. You see, I was also thinking that this would be the case because Yannick. It would have been too much of a risk. Yannick, in the position that he was running, was relatively confident for the championship, and so what he's doing here actually makes perfect sense. Onto the soft he goes, out of the pits he goes. He is going to be repassed by Matthew Williams. Williams appears to have actually gained time on him there, but he's going to be 5th in the effective order. And providing Colin Spork wins the race, which is looking relatively comfortable right now, then Yannick Bock is safe with the championship. Talking of that, Colin Spork has just set a 1:07.324. That is one of the fastest lap times that I've ever seen, not just in terms of at this circuit in Super League, but at the circuit full stop. And actually, in terms of average speed, that's got to be up there with one of the fastest lap times posted on any road course anywhere ever. That is amazing from Collins.
Yeah, that's a very, very competitive lap time there. No, he's currently leading. He's got 13 laps left to go out the front. Ruiz 2.5 seconds back. Spork, you know, if they finish as they do, again he's looking ever more increasingly unlikely that he will be claiming this championship. He was coming in as a massive, massive underdog. I'm sure if you asked him, that's a very late lunge by Williams on Fournier up to P4. Or up to P3, apologies.
Hey, he's got it. So Williams back up to P3, sorry.
Yeah, great move there. Fournier is going to try and fight back on the inside, but decides against it last minute. So Williams holds on to P3. As I was saying, though, yeah, I'm sure if you'd asked Sport before this race, you know, if he was thinking about the championship, I'm sure he probably would have said no. Mathematically, he was in with a chance. Realistically, not. But, you know, he's giving it a good go anyway. He's putting in a great performance. And again, if they finish as they do, he won't be champion, but it will be his 3rd race win in a row this season, which is, you know, phenomenal for him and his, you know, late charge up the championship. And also, he'll be the only driver to do it this season. Or only a current driver to do it this season, actually. I do apologise. Someone else has done it. I'll just double check who that is. It was somebody. It was Jerne. Was it Jerne? Yeah, it was Jerne Simonjic. There you go. Wasn't quite sure. I just had to double check the championship table there. But he'll be the only driver still going this season to win 3 in a row. Of course, Jerne hasn't been at the latter stages of the season. And, well, there is Fournier. Looking at, no, this is Yannick Bock actually looking at the back of Jeffrey Fournier. And well, if he gets past Fournier, then Ruiz will definitely need to get into the lead of this race, because now the pressure is starting to mount on Ruiz. What can you do? He's 2.5 back from Spork. Again, he's going to need to win this race if they finish as they do. You know, if Bock doesn't make any positions, Ruiz needs to win. If Bock gets into 3rd, then he wins anyway. Ruiz cannot do anything. So now pressure starting to mount. Yannick Bock is now holding all of the cards. It's been a slow burn race for him, you know, but he's done this masterfully. He has strategized this to perfection with the team. You know, they've just let it come. They've just let the race run. We've all been focusing on what Sport versus Ruiz, but he didn't have a great qualifying, did Bock. He obviously knew his pace wasn't going to be there. So the team has decided to try and strategy this one out, and it has worked perfectly, because now Yannick Bock, he's the championship leader, and he's holding all the cards into the latter phases of this race.
Yep, so by my calculations, if they finish like this, he will win the championship by 1 point. But look at this, up the inside of Jeffrey Fournier. He's going for more points. Look at that, that's so close. He's got to be careful. He cannot afford to come together with Jeffrey Fournier here. He's got so much to lose. DRS open. He's attacking Fournier once again. To the inside he goes. And that is so important for... And I think he's going to run wide. Fournier's back through on the inside. Look at that, they're still there. Up towards Ferrari. Dura. They're almost banging wheels. Fournier's on the outside. He's still going for it. And Yannick Buck takes 4th position. And that is so important for him. That's 3 points as opposed to 1 point. Because before, even if Roll had taken fastest lap, Buck would still have got it on countback. You've got to keep in mind, potential penalties, potential adjustments to the system. It's not over until you're handed the trophy at GPVWC Day, and Yannick Buck needs to put himself in the best possible position, which he has just done by overtaking Jeffrey Fournier there. Stefan Rohr will have been told, and he knows that he needs to win this race. His last lap was half a second faster than Spork's. I think Spork made a mistake, actually, because Spork's last lap was a second slower than the one before it. So something happened to Spork, I think, which has put Rohr back to 1.5 seconds behind. It's still not over. It's still absolutely not over yet, with 10 laps to go. But Yannick Buck there has just done himself a massive favour, despite the fact it could have gone all sorts of wrong.
Yeah, indeed. I've never wanted someone to not crash so much in my entire career as in that moment. Because obviously when someone's going for an overtake, you want a bit of an action, thinking, oh, what if they crash here? That would be exciting. But in that moment, I was like, please, do not crash. Because that would just flip the entire race on its head. But Bot got through after some very pointlessly aggressive driving at this phase of the championship and this phase of the race. He didn't need to go for the move, but he went for it anyway. 10 laps to go in the 2021 GPVWC Super League season, and it is Spork from Rouet, from Williams, and in P4, if we finish as we're running now, it is Yannick Bock, and he will be your champion. But as you said, Kaylin, it is not over until the fat lady sings, the checkered flag waves, and you're handed the trophy in Milton Keynes a few weeks down the line. And of course, if you're going to GPVWC Day, hello, I might be there. I'm not sure. I need to figure out if I'm going yet or not. But I'm sure we're all going to have a blast over in the roundabout city that is Milton Keynes. If you're not going, I'm sure they'll be live streaming. If you are going, then enjoy Milton Keynes. I'm not really sure how much you can get away with saying that sentence. There's Oldenmenger having a look on Keersmaker to the inside, decided against it. It's a bit far back anyway. That would have been a very, very big lunge if he'd have gone for it. Actually, it runs slightly wide coming out of turn 2 as well. But he will have the DRS down this back stretch. Is he going to be close enough? Let's see. No is the answer. I can already tell. That's very, very far back. Again, just a trick of the camera. Looked a lot closer up the back end of the straight, and Energy came closer. Realised that she wasn't actually that close, was he? But still running around at P11. It's been a pretty good day for Tom Oldenmenger. I'm sure he can walk over this happy. He's been in lots of different battles, lots of scraps. Been putting on a good show, putting his name out there. That is for certain. Currently running a P11 as well, which is a very good result. And I'm sure that he'll be very happy at this one. To be honest, he's run very well today. Done a good job out there, and yeah, he's really been getting his name out there, and personally, he's been a good watch.
Indeed. By the way, we've now got 4 retirements, I'm afraid to say. Federico Rosso, a few laps ago, retired to the pit lane. And that means, of course, that with Tom Oldenmenger running in P11, it's pretty much confirmed that Cenobite are going to beat Green Stripes in the championship here and get away without the wooden spoon, I suppose, of finishing last in the team's standings. All 14 teams scored points this year, though, so it wasn't like we had any real backmarker teams, which is always good to see. Stefan Roll, meanwhile, is now back in DRS range at Colin Spork. I tell you what, Russ, this is not over yet in terms of the race or the championship. Fantastic stuff. Also, with my calculations just now, actually, watch Yannick Buck, as he gains on Matthew Williams. He's getting a lot closer into turn 1. But with my calculations that I did a few seconds ago, I'm pretty sure what's gone wrong with the graphic that we had earlier explaining where drivers need to finish in the championship is that rather than saying if Royal finishes here, Buck needs to finish here, what it should actually say is if Royal finishes here, he needs Buck to finish here. If that makes sense. So it's slightly confusingly worded, but if you follow my lead, Yannick Buck would win the championship by 3 points if they finish as it is now, unless Stefan Rohr can pass Colin Spork, in which case it would be 2 points in Royal's favour. And look how close Spork is to Royal, but also look how close Bock is to Williams. Oh my goodness, this is going to be an exciting final 6 laps to the race. My goodness, Ross.
Oh, this is going to go down right to the wire, you can tell already, and yet that graph may be confusing in nature, but its implications remain the same, and if Rolt gets ahead of Spork, then Bock needs to finish on the podium, or Rolt wins the championships. So, these two guys, they've both kind of got playing card power here, you know, no one really has the upper hand here, they're both, you know, again, in this scenario at the moment, Bock really has the upper hand, but all it takes is one little overtake from Rolt, one little mistake from Colin Spork, and suddenly the pendulum swings in Rolt's favour, and Bock's got to do the work. And then if Bock gets up to P3, then you know, you're thinking, what does Rolt do? Does he just pray to the sim racing gods that Bock runs into trouble? Does he try and back them up? It's a long, long way back to Williams, 13 seconds. Does he try and hold Spork up? Does Spork play along with that? Spork much be like, nah, I'm not having that, and bolt off into the distance. So, you know, there's so many things to consider here. Going to cross the line, lap 66 this time. Again, Rolt with the toe and the DRS as they come across the line. He's going to get a big slipstream down into turn 1. I don't think he's going to be close enough for a dive this time by. No, he's not. But again, if he gets a good exit out of the center S's, visually very close there, 0.3 of a second was the gap I just saw. If he gets a good exit out the center S's, he could be in with a shot for a move there. Now, Bock, what can he do on Williams? Again, not close enough into turn 1. Does Rolt have a go down into turn 4? No, again, not close enough, but he's there, he's lingering, he's putting the pressure on. All it takes is one little mistake from Colin Spork, and Rolt leads this race, and more importantly, will take the lead in the championship fight with only a few laps left to go in this race. And oh my goodness me, this is already so tense, and as the laps tick down, it's going to get even more tense as it goes along. Who's going to be lifting that trophy, Milton Keynes? I genuinely have no idea. At this point, Sporks, I think he's just, it's safe to say, that unless there is an absolute disaster for Bock and Roe, you know, he's just out of the running. It's all about Roe versus Bock. What do? They're not fighting each other out on track physically, but they are definitely, in terms of championship and mentally, fighting each other out. They'll both have their engineers in there telling them what's going on, where's my rival, what do I need to do, what are my tyres looking like, how do I win this championship. 5 laps to go of the 2021 GPVWC Super League season. This could be the most important 5 laps of the year.
And look there at the driver following Spork and Royal closely. That's Adam Maguire, the world champion, trying to get a front row seat to see exactly who is going to take his crown off him here. Adam running a lap down in this race, running 2 laps down now. Actually, it really has not gone his way, but continuing on. And we'll hand over the trophy to someone else at the end of the day. But who will it be? I am so excited right now to see how these final few laps are going. A brief yellow flag there. I think that was for the back market, getting out the way of those drivers coming through, because I don't see anyone strike that circuit, thank goodness. And with just a few laps to go, are we going to end up with an "is that Bock" sort of movement? I hope not.
Bock?
Exciting. Would be a rather ironic way to finish the championship. Royal's gaining on Spork here down the start-finish straight. Look at that. He's gaining and gaining. He takes a look. What he's trying to do there, he's trying to dummy Spork. He's trying to say, I'm going to go for a crazy dive bomb. Got to move out the way so we don't crash. And Spork's wise to it. Spork makes the corner, keeps the line down into turn 4. And keeps the lead. So Colin Spork still there. Stefan Roll. Look at Moritz Krop up the inside of Daniel Stepkowski, sorry. Not Stefan Danovsky or whatever I was about to just say. And that's for P14, which is in the points. Green Stripes might score a point at this rate. Look where Lucchini is. But you know, he needs to get past someone else. 3 laps to go. This is great.
Indeed it is. A little bit of argy-bargy there from Krop, just going, excuse me, coming through. That P14's mine. I'm starting to wonder if we might be seeing a similar thing from Roll, because that, you know, countdown to lap 71 and the checker flag is getting ever closer. Roll, again, within 0.6 of a second onto the main straight. It's going to be lap 69 as they cross the line this time by DRS for Stefan Roll. What can he do? Coming to turn 1. Does he go for the dive again? No, he doesn't this time, but he knows. Spork knows he's there. If Rolt gets past, you know, suddenly Bock has got a big ask, and Bock just does not seem to be catching Williams in front. So all it takes is one overtake, and suddenly this championship is flipped on its head. There is Moose and Keysmakers, apologies, fighting out for P6 as well. These two very, very close. This could be an overtake heading down into turn 1. And oh my goodness me, there is so little time left in this championship and the 2021 GPVWC season.
It's a crash from P9. Was running P9 and he's now not got rear wing. That is a massive shame from a driver who's done a good job today, and I'm afraid he's lost it by himself.
Indeed, his box, surely he's going to be pushing for that third. You know, he's safe in 4th at the moment, but all it takes is for Ralt to get into the lead. No matter how, if he gets into the lead, suddenly Bok needs third. And Bok will want to be on third, not just so he's on the podium, so you know you can say he got the championship on the podium, and that all looks nice. You've got your 3 championship contenders on the podium, you get a replay of the incident, but surely as well, just for the fact that, oh no, just lost the rear for Michael Ayres, and then backed it into the wall. Yeah, oh, that's a big shame. Just lost the rear, too much speed into the corner, probably got caught out by the camber change as well, and that was that. Here's Yannick Bok with the DRS. No, too far back again visually. 2 laps to go in this race. Where's Rui? There he is. Is he close enough? No, he's not. It's going to be this again. Rui's realistically, he's got 1 more chance to make the move, and that chance is down into turn 1. And well, next time it's the final lap. This is it for him, and if Bok gets into P3, then it's all over.
Absolutely, this is amazing. You will never see another situation as tense as this, where there are 2 fights going on for podium positions, and either one of them would result, if either one of them changed, it would result in a different driver winning the championship. You never get this. This is amazing. I can't even stress how unbelievably well written the script that we're witnessing in front of us actually is right now.
Really close. Rui's really close.
Is so close. He's so close to Colin Spork. He's going to have the DRS once again, and he is going to be alongside Colin Spork up towards turn 1. To the inside he goes. Stefan Roll for the championship takes the lead on the last lap in Brazil. He's got it. He's got the lead. It's all down to what Spork can do and what Bok can do. Does Colin Spork come back to him on the last lap? He's not going to get a chance down into turn 4. His last chance will be up towards the line. Yannick Bok needs to pass Williams. He needs to go for a last minute move, because otherwise he will lose it. He'll have it yanked away from him at the very last opportunity. We have half a lap to go for the leaders right now. Colin Spork is 2nd, and he could still deny Stefan Roll this championship. Through
Bok
the
is pushing so hard. Bok is pushing so hard. You can see he's using all the track, and then to 1 corner to go for Stefan Rui. He has waited. He has timed it perfectly. Is Sport close enough? I don't think he is. Stefan Rui is going to win the race. Where is Bok? Where is Bok? I'm not sure. So Rui wins the race here, the finale. But where is Bok? Does he take the championship?
They've got traffic up towards the line. There's going to be a DRS battle. It's going to be close. I think it's just about going to be Williams, but Bok is right there, and Stefan Frill wins the 2021 GPVWC Championship on the final lap. The final corner pretty much could have decided it. It didn't quite, but Stefan Frill has won the 2021 Championship. I cannot believe what I just saw. It came down to the last lap of the last race. And it could have gone either way, all the way through that. It was a strategic race. It was a wheel-to-wheel race. It was flat out. It was ferocious. It was phenomenal. I cannot believe what we've just witnessed, Ross.
He had all the cards stacked against him. He was the underdog coming into this finale. Stefan Rui is the winner of the 2021 GPVWC Super League Championship on the final lap of the race. My goodness me, it was all looking like it was going to be Bok for so long. It was just Bok. He had the advantage coming into this race. He had the advantage throughout the race, and then suddenly, in the dying laps, Rui suddenly came into life, and then into the first corner for the last time, he makes the move, and he takes the championship. Stefan Rui wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, and he takes the 2021 Super League title in unbelievable fashion. Colin Spork, who was so good out there, led every lap. Oh, the last one comes home in P2 with Matthew Williams in P3. Yannick Bok in P4 will be heartbroken. Just loses out on the championship on the final lap. Jeffrey Fournier had a fantastic drive to P5. Matthias Moose recovering to P6 as well. Matteo Keersmakers will come home in 7th with David Fidok in 8th. Laurent Keersmakers is 9th with Tom Oldermenger rounding out the top 10 there with a brilliant last few laps for him. Florian Gaia is in P11 with Janis Volburn in P12. Moritz Kropp is 13th with Stanley Stepkowski in P14th. Mirko Lucchini is 15th with Robin Panzer in 16th. Thomas Vack, after that first lap incident, is 17th. That's the best comeback he could have had, unfortunately, after qualifying in P2. And Ray Kilk is 18th. Leon Bock is 19th. And Adam Maguire, with that downshift issue, is in P20. And then we've got a whole host of DNFs after that as well. We've got Michael Ayres, Federico Russo, Scott Sovic, Luke Maguire, and Germano Zappala. But my goodness me, I'm struggling for words. That is genuinely the most incredible finish that we have possibly ever seen in GPVWC history. Unbelievable. Stefan Rohr, take a bow. That was beautifully managed all race long. He just bided his time and then went for it on the final lap. But Yannick Bock as well, you've got to feel for the man. He must be heartbroken. It was looking so good for him until there was one lap to go in the championship. But Roy, wow, take a bow. That was phenomenal.
I wonder what the moment was when he realized that he had not won this champion, or that Royal had got through. He probably knew it during the race. He was probably being told. He was probably being urged on by his mechanic or whoever with on that final lap of the race, being told, you've got to go for it. You've got to go for it. And that must have been heartbreaking. But for Stefan Rohr, I'm so happy for Stefan, because first of all, he absolutely deserved this. He took that advantage right when he needed to, right at the last moment. He's driven such a consistent season. He hasn't won as many races as Yannick, but he's been consistent. He's been so consistent. We'll speak to him in a moment, but let me just finish my point. I've been following Stefan's career for a while. I saw him win Super Cup a few years ago. I've seen him come into Super League and start winning races and getting podiums, and now he's won the championship. And we can speak to him while the emotions are still raw. Let me drag him into the broadcast room ever so quickly. There we go. Stefan, do you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Stefan, I take it you know that you just won the championship on the last lap of GPVWC Super League.
Yeah, we celebrated already with the team. It's incredible end to an incredible season. In this race, man, it was so stressful.
Okay, Stefan, I'm speechless after what I just saw. I don't know what to ask you. I don't know what to say. So
You need me to rescue you, Caitlin.
I'm sure there's a lot that you want to say about that. I'm sure there's a lot that you want to get out on the broadcast. So please, my friend, take it away.
Well, actually, Stefan, can I just just say, well, first of all, obviously, congratulations. That was unbelievable. Just well done. What was the feeling like across the race, though? Because for so long, it looked like you were on the back foot. It looked like Yannick Bock had it all under control. At what point did you realize that actually you could do something about that? Was the plan just whole race long just to just keep doing what you're doing and hope the championship comes to you?
Yeah, exactly that. And luckily, I had a fight with Colin the whole race, because that kept my mind off things. And I just gotta say, I mean, this entire season with my team, with Laurent, really, if there is any young driver out there or other drivers that want to work with a guy that knows his stuff, they go work with Laurent and the Keersmakers brothers, because those guys are just insane what they know about how to set up a car and how to drive lines and all the technical knowledge they have. So if there's anyone who wants to learn, you need to join these guys. That's first of all. And then, of course, Dayton, my team boss, and Gerrit, my engineer, thank you so much. And I've got to say, Colin, that guy, if he had just had a better start of the season, he would have won this season hands down. Just the last few races, he's been on fire and just seemingly unstoppable. So, really props to him. Incredible season. And then lastly, of course, Yannick, I mean, to keep it down to the wire, the fight down to the wire, and to have that amazing fight with already a world champion was just so much fun and such a big motivation. So good job by him, and thanks for this amazing season.
Well, that last lap overtake as well. I mean, we saw you trying down into turn one a couple laps before, but was it just a scenario of you had to go? It was the best opportunity. Was it a plan maneuver? Or was it just to send it and hope?
I had a couple tries before in the race, and I just had to try, and luckily Colin didn't make it too difficult for me. His championship was, I think, pretty much lost at that point, so he wasn't fighting me, tooth and nail, but it was just enough, and it's amazing to win like that.
Well, of course, sorry, Shelley. Had a moment with my microphone there, apologies. But yeah, awesome stuff from you. And, well, again, congratulations. That was amazing, of course. Champion, obviously, that does need to be made official post-race with the review. But as far as we're concerned, you've done it. So absolutely unbelievable, Stefan. What a great result. What a great race. What a great season you've had. Go and have a few drinks. I know it's a Thursday, but you deserve it. You must be feeling pretty emotional right now.
I'm sure gonna have a drink or two and celebrate with my team. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, Stefan. I'm sure you'll be feeling amazing right now. I'm feeling amazing watching that. But yeah, that was a stunning season for you. Stunning drive and an amazing way to do it as well. My goodness. Okay. So, Stefan Roll, that was champion who we've just heard from. Let's speak to a former champion, actually, David Fidok. David, are you there?
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno indeed. So, David, I've been wanting to know this all day. Lovely livery. What's that all about?
It's in celebration of our team owner's new Baba, and a kind of a thank you to GPV and the broadcast team for the season.
Fair enough. So celebration livery, and it looked pretty epic, if you don't mind me saying. I made that joke earlier. Sorry, that's a recycle. So you've got to feel pretty good about that.
Now I do. Yeah, I wasn't happy one bit during quali and while I was watching everyone do the warm up lap because how many times I said it during the season how much I'd never hook up quali. And it was the same feeling today. I didn't have any feeling in the car whatsoever. I was 0.5 off my PB. I don't know where that would have got me. I didn't even look. I was too upset. So yeah, I threw the mediums on, started from the pit lane. Heard a nice hour factor crash beside me as I was going through the pit lane, and I don't know. I think it was 5-6 places on the first lap alone. So yeah, just picked my way through the battles. It was kind of. It was a lot easier to overtake than most of the season. Even in the DRS train, and I'm on maximum wing, I could line up people out of the last corner and get them into turn one quite easy. So it's just about playing the strategy. Looked after the tyres well, apart from the last stint. That really annoyed me as well. I was hunting down Matthias and someone else at quite good pace, but then I just used too much and had to back off. So, but yeah, it's a decent way to end the season. We just jumped RSR in the constructors, so we moved up one place. So, good way to end, I guess.
Absolutely. So, in terms of the championship as a whole, it's been an up and down one for you, as in very up and down. Actually, looking by your results, you went up, you went down, you went up again, and then you're ending on a bit of a high. Overall, I think you made a few steps forward this season from last. Do you feel the same?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the last 2 years, I don't know if it was the mod or tires. I couldn't click with anything, to be honest. This year was a big step. I think mainly the tires, because I'm getting more feedback under braking now and on turn in. So I'm able to pull out a bit more pace, but there's still a lot missing from, the 2016, 2014 days when I could fight at the front. And I feel if I had a car underneath me, then I could do that again. But I'm just going to take baby steps from now and see how we go. The season, yeah, I mean, we started okay. We had pace for top 10 most races, and on a decent race we was fighting top 5s and podiums, but I think I went on 6 races mid-season where I got in fights with people I didn't need to, and I got hit off quite a lot, cost the team a lot and myself, which I've apologised for loads of times. But yeah, I mean, we was never going to win the title this year, so it's about finding that next step now for next year and hopefully fighting more near the front.
Indeed. Are you expecting to stay with Epic for next year?
Yes, indeed. Yep. I don't know if I should have said that. Sorry, Lee. But yeah, I will be staying there.
Okie dokie. Well, we'll see you then. And yeah, decent season there. I think you're P8 in the champion. Sorry, P9 in the championship. You may have got P8 there actually. Sorry, I shouldn't be trying to do arithmetics on the fly, but you're P9 at least. So congratulations, not bad.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the season from the broadcasting.
No problem at all. Thank you, David. Okay, I think we might only get time for one more interview, maybe a quick other one. But anyway, Colin Sport. Colin, are you there?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so a slightly disappointing way to end the race for you, but let's start with the positives. You had so much pace today. Pole position, fastest lap. You were flying, my friend.
Yeah, it was a really good race. Just everything went as planned. Tires were okay, pace was good. Just managing the tires once Stefan was behind me, and well, fortunately in the last stint my force feedback dropped, so the car was, let's say, not really nice to drive because it's pretty tricky to drive the car if you push like on the level that we do. So a mistake is easily made. So yeah, then I just didn't want to, let's say, crash out the last race.
So did you lose force feedback altogether?
Well, there was still like a slight bit left because it's quite a bumpy track. So I felt like a little bit, but not much now. So
Okay, that's a bizarre one. Normally it fails or it works, but anyway.
Well, yeah, it's like I had sometimes like issues that it like dropped. I don't know what it is, maybe overheating. I don't know.
Fair enough. Even so, so you were extremely good. Stefan complimented driving when we interviewed him just now. He said you were unstoppable in the last few rounds of the championship. That's gotta feel good. That's gotta fill your confidence for next year, right?
Well, yeah, it's I'm really happy with like how the end of the season went. The pace was there altogether all the time. So well, that luckily like at the end of the season it all got together and it worked out and qualifying every time and race as well. But I mean, it's just amazing to work with the team this year. And it's a shame to say that I'm not here next season. So I'm not driving here next season. So that's fairly unfortunate. But because of that, I just want to thank.
Big shame. What are your plans for next year?
Well, since I joined a new team, I'm not involved with Edge anymore. So there are different competitions waiting for me next season, and I'm really excited to drive there. But I've enjoyed this the 2 seasons that I've driven here, and I just want to thank everyone that helped me and has been there for me in my rookie 2 seasons. So basically, this season was the first real season of Simracing, and dragging the championship into the last round. Couldn't have done it without everyone here. So yeah, a big thanks to everyone, and also to Edge for taking me up as a little kid.
Well, Colin, please don't forget about us. Please come back in the future if you can, and if you want to. You have rocked the GPVWC world these last 2 years, and today was no exception. So congratulations on your podium there. Ross, do you have anything to add to Colin?
Just wish you luck for the future, I suppose. I mean, you're still young. You make me feel old, and I'm like a year older than you. So it's you done well there. But you're still young, still got plenty of years, left ahead of you to develop and grow. And yeah, please come back. 'Cause it'd be nice to see you back. But yeah, you've still got plenty of time just to develop and grow, and you've got big things in store for your future, mate. So good luck and have fun.
Yeah, thank you. It was an amazing ride, and I want to say a thing about the race. I want to like thank Evolution because Leon was a lap car the whole race, and I needed to pass him every stint, but he didn't like make it a hard job as we saw last season. Unfortunately, it went a bit harder than this season, so that's really fair by them, and a really big congrats to them winning the constructors, and well, fair driving from them in the last round.
Thank you, Colin, and good luck in whatever you're doing next year.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. So I think that's pretty much all we've got time for from a driver's front. Sorry to Flo Guy, who I see is waiting there in the interview room. But yeah, I just wanted to round it out by giving an extra special thank you to Argo Tida and Ross McIntyre in the broadcast room with me, and of course everyone else who's been involved in the broadcasting of this series all the way through the championship. You know, Jake Sanson, of course, Jack Mayer behind the scenes has done a lot, probably a lot more than most people realize with the graphics and the whole setup of the broadcast as a whole. And then, of course, in the junior categories, we have all sorts of other broadcasters and streamers, and we couldn't really do much of this without them. So it's very much appreciated. Russ, it's been an exciting season. What was your highlight of this year as a whole?
Oh my goodness me. I mean, in Super League terms or just in general GPV terms?
Let's say either.
I mean, Super League terms. I mean, you can't go any further than that. Those final few laps we've just witnessed, just unbelievable stuff. You know, it doesn't get any more special than that. In general GPV terms, I mean, it was quite cool getting invited to join the team. You know, it was, you know, a bit of a personal milestone, I guess. But you know, just in general, you know, GPVWC, it's all, you know, it's one of the best run championships out there, and it's always, you know, a pleasure to come along and commentate. And you know, the racing's always spectacular. So you know, just in general, I'd say just all of the championships, the entire season as a whole, it's been amazing. You know, again, big shame Colin Sporks team, but he put on a show for us. Again, one of the weirdly annoying young kids who are just a billion times faster than anybody else in our Factor 2 that seems to be becoming more and more like frequent in the sim racing world, which I'm not sure why, but it's really getting on my nerves. But yeah, fair play. He put on an awesome race. Obviously, Stefan as well. That was unbelievable. And obviously, you know, you got to feel for Yannick Buck there. I'm sure he's, you know, he's going to be heartbroken by that one. But yeah, that's, you know, that is just the most dramatic way possible to end the GPVWC 2021 Super League and GPVWC 2021 as a whole. And yeah, I think, you know, come GPVWC Day in Milton Keynes, you know, I think everyone's had time to reflect and we can all sit around and talk and go, well, that was quite exciting, wasn't it?
Indeed. Well, my favourite moment of the year was absolutely that last lap. And I know I'm kind of biased since the emotions are still running high. It's only just happened. But what an amazing way for the championship to be decided. Congratulations once again to Stefan Roth. Commiserations to Yannick Bock and Colin Spork. Both of those drivers have been so good this year. Yannick Bock, of course, 5 victories. Colin Spork, of course, 2 victories, but so many podiums. And remember, a rookie driver in only his second year of sim racing as a whole and first of GPWC Super League. And I think if he had stayed this year, stayed with us for next year, he would probably have gone on to be champion. But I'm afraid it seems we'll never know. Whatever the case, what a fantastic season this has been. What a fantastic race this has been. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did here. So from all of us at GPWC for 2021, it's goodbye and have a good rest of your year.